Hey, you know that guy who just before the green flag keys up his mic and asks, "Anybody got a setup?" Well, this is him. This is Adam, and hey, Adam needs some help. On the other hand, this guy over here, this is Steve. Steve is a solid racer and he knows his way around the garage. Steve's problem is time. With a job and a family, he can't find enough time to build competitive setups and to race as often as he likes. But as luck would have it, Steve knows a secret. He lets the Majors Garage crew chiefs do the setup work so he can focus on the racing. At majorsgarage.com, Steve can get setups for over 60 cars on the iRacing service. So no matter what series he wants to jump into, he is covered. Somebody, anybody, really should tell Adam. See you at the garage.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome one, welcome all to SimSpeed TV. It is time once again to return to the mountain. This time in the Majors series and in cars that we haven't seen race at the mountain in this series yet. It's MTCR here, round 4 of the 2024 season, racing the TCR touring cars around Mount Panorama Circuit. Now, MTCR last season took place at Knock Hill Racing Circuit, and what a great format it was. It returns for this season. We've got heat races combining into a final. It's going to be very interesting to see who comes out on top over the course of this format and who will take the round win at the very end of it. Bringing it to you all live here on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Kick. It's me, Reese Gardner. Got Lynn Kinchelow and Dan Yeaman in the comms box with me. Lynn, we'll go to you first. Of course, certainly some interesting goings on in the Pacific region of the Major Series to start the 2024 season. I wasn't here for the Lotus 49 at the Nürburgring, so this is my first time back in the seat in a while, but one thing's for sure, we've seen some fantastic displays of driving.
Absolutely, Reese. We have gotten out of hell, but now we're going straight into the fire. We come to Mount Panorama, as you have said, and look at the weather forecast right now. It is smoldering out there right now. Track temperature is currently 135 degrees Fahrenheit, as we're displaying the Celsius right there.
That's a medium rare steak.
Yeah, it's kind of crispy out here, which means the speeds are going to be down a little bit. As you see the forecast, it's just going to be clear and sunny all this particular round. But as we work our way through the heats, expect a little bit of a cold front to move in later on.
Indeed, iRacing's new weather system in effect here. Of course, the TCRs aren't rain-enabled just yet, but they are still affected by the weather system. Dan, of course, Mount Panorama needs no introduction for us down in Aussie land, and I think the same goes for anyone on the iRacing service. It's one of the most historic racetracks in the world. It is the crown jewel of Australian motorsport. It is Mount Panorama. Been around since the late 1930s and has been challenging drivers ever since.
100%, Reese. What more do we need to say about this place, at least you and I, the very least? But in saying that, events like the Bathurst 12-hour and the Bathurst 1000 are making this place certainly known around the world if you haven't quite caught up on it yet. And yeah, it has changed over the years, but thanks to the fact that the roads themselves are reasonably static. There hasn't been a huge amount of change. The major change realistically has just been the addition of the chase to slow the cars down before Murray's corner. But I think also to note, we were talking about the weather earlier, I think it'll be interesting to see with these cars how they go in these opening heats. Yes, it'll slow them down in terms of absolute peak pace, but at the same time, I have to say, with these cars starting on stone cold ambient tyres in the mid 20 degrees Celsius range, that might just help them warm up a slight little bit there. How's that for a bit of a heat haze action to demonstrate how hot we're talking here today, Ben?
It's very, very crispy still, as you have said. And to keep in mind, let's take a look at the format real quick. All races today will be contested over 11 laps apiece, so we're looking at about 25-30 minutes of racing as the cars are released from the drivers' meeting. The key thing to keep in mind for this first heat, you want to finish in that top half so you can stay here on the top half of the field. The even-numbered splits being covered by Grid Vision will take place on a separate server. And the key thing there is you want to be in the top split for that final round. That's where the most points will be paid out.
Yeah, exactly right. So keep an eye on the drivers who will be finishing in the top half of the field. They're the ones who'll be going into the first split, essentially, as the drivers are now out on track trying to make their way around a very hot Mount Panorama. Like I said before, when I unfortunately talked over Lynn with a bit of an explanation. Sorry for that, Lynn. You put a piece of beef on the racetrack, leave it for a bit, and it'll be a nice medium rare. Christian Challoner is the leader of the championship coming into this round, and we're expecting that he's going to be very competitive here in front-wheel drive touring cars. Ross Banfield in second place, Dowd, Abramatis and Hill rounding out the top 5 in the pro standings. We move on through to the Legends standings for drivers over 50 years of age. Well, Kevin Hill is currently the leader of that. Brian Bennett, though, could challenge him if he has a good race here tonight. Things looking very close in the sixth place region. Brian's McGreevy and Barnes are separated by only 2 points. In the team standings, it is the Mega Racing Team show, but they are under a lot of pressure from Evolve Sim Sports. The team standings looking a lot closer than previous seasons of the majors that we've covered here on SimSpeed TV. Back when we did the international region, it was the likes of Kinetic who were absolutely stomping it at the top of the championship standings. But Mega Racing Team and Evolve Sim Sports will surely continue their fight here today. Well, of course, we have to highlight as well briefly, in the Majors Series, every round supports a charity, and drivers can donate directly to that charity by buying extra qualifying laps in the lead up to the event. This time we are supporting Men's Health Trust New Zealand, which is a charity in New Zealand, of course, that provides support for men's mental health and helps to inspire men to make better choices and support their mental health. You can go to menshealth.org.nz to find out more about them. Many great initiatives in New Zealand supporting men who are in need in the country. Fantastic stuff as always here in the Majors Series. It is time to see what the times are like in this session. Ross Banfield currently on top. Tom Abramatis there, 5th place in the championship, actually in the top 5 in the championship, sorry, but down in 11th spot, Len. He's having some issues here getting this car around, and we've got a good variety of cars on display here. We've got the 2 Hyundais and the Honda Civic on display. Drivers could choose the Audi RS3 if they want, but we've only seen one here in this split, and that's Scott Kukas.
Yeah, we have a couple of them as well. A couple Audis, Mark Santana, as you mentioned. The popular cars currently at the moment appear to be the Hyundai Elantras and the Honda Civics. Those have been the 2 quickest cars overall, and that's what you will see right here. Challenger is wielding a Honda Civic at the moment. Or no, this is Abramatis. I get these mega cars, they all look so fantastic, and yet I get them easily mixed up.
Indeed.
There we go.
Nice. All right. Challoner running a bit of black on his livery there. Banfield also in the Civic and also looking quick, which is interesting because, Dan, to bring you into the conversation, we've raced TCR for quite some time ourselves. It's usually the Hyundai Elantra that is the car of choice in TCR because of its long wheelbase, providing a bit more stability. The Honda, usually not as good over the curbs, but evidently, these drivers are extracting a lot of pace out of it. Same for Gav Barber as well, who's jumped in the Veloster.
I think it does speak a lot there to, it just as it happens that whilst there are certainly quirks to each of these cars, the fact that we have ourselves, the Honda at the top of the timesheets. Austin Milwain, is any chance, I haven't quite got it up if he's in an Elantra or a Veloster there, but so 2 Elantras, I should say, in the top 3. But then you add Dan Stevenson next to our Civics and Gav Barber there in that Veloster. There we go, we'll bring it up on the side of the tower for you. So we have 3 of our 4 different cars in the top 5. Unfortunately, the Audi not represented at the top of the charts in practice just yet, it seems. But nevertheless, it will be curious to see how things play out. I guess around here at the mountain, it does sort of make some sense, Reese. We don't have a ton of curbs that drivers are looking to utilise as, down this has become there with 27 machine, which would be Shane Vickery. In that case, it is indeed. Having a small moment there where it actually gets away under brakes. So we'll see here if, the Elantras play out. I mean, as you're right, I've been using the Elantra most of the time in a free choice situation previously, and then our most recent TCR endeavours were in an Elantra only championship, which does mean you didn't see the cars out, but might be wheeling and dealing around in something like the Honda Civic in weeks to come, but that's for me to worry about outside of broadcasting.
Indeed. Well, keep an eye here on Shane Vickery as he makes his way down into the chase. Entry to the chase is, of course, flat out in these front-wheel drive touring cars. 350 horsepower going to the front wheels in these things, which is a big amount of power for a front wheel drive, Lynn. It's amazing that we're able to get these cars as stable on the front end as they are, but of course, them being front wheel drive, they have to deal with a lot of understeer around here.
Personally, I find it to be a little bit mystifying. I grew up driving rear-wheel drive cars, so a lot of these machines, they kind of befuddle me a little bit, but they tend to stop on a dime. They rotate exceptionally well in the corners. As we look at some of our onboards this evening, I believe, who do we have here? Got a couple of different drivers.
Yeah, we do. It's Justin Morton on the top left, Daniel Stevens top right, Stevens' teammate Gav Barber down on bottom left, and Thomas Hinz on the bottom right. So we've got American, Aussie, and Kiwi representation here on the Zoom wall. We'll be checking in with these guys throughout the night as the session ticks down into its final 2 minutes. Just enough time to get one more lap on the board if you start it. If you started it about 30 seconds ago. Hello, Gav, giving us a wave once more. Always like to see him here on the Zoom wall in his motion rig, and he'll be thrown around quite a bit, Dan. This circuit, obviously one of the most difficult on the planet, and some massive elevation changes that'll be going through those motion actuators in his rig.
Yeah, it will, and also just the main thing will probably actually be the pitching under brakes and acceleration, and then little bits of curve action like there at the chase. The climbs up and down here steady enough, although you'll feel it through areas like the Great as you come up across the top of the mountain and over McPhillamy into Skyline, all of those major areas as the car, you're really working, change of direction and compression as the car sort of dips and rises with the circuit across the top of the mountain. Will be interesting to watch out for. As sort of a good point being made in the broadcast chat for us here, that we should see cars like the Honda actually perform a little better under brakes and in the corners in terms of their pace, but we should see the Elantras pull it back on mountain and Conrod straights with a slightly higher top speed. It shouldn't be much, but that will sort of help to explain a little bit where the pace differences will lie in this TCR class as it currently stands.
Indeed. Stevens driving the Honda Civic himself, making his way across the top of the mountain right now. And this is one of the most crucial braking zones on the lap, which starts right here at Skyline, down through the S's. You want to try and control the rear end. You need a car that will rotate on brakes in TCR. That's the only way you're going to be able to get it through the corners. Hello to you too, Dan, making your way down to Forest Elbow and trying to straighten up the exit as much as possible. Get the best possible exit on those front tires. Got to straighten it out as soon as you can. Well, that's the end of the pre-race warm-up session, and we get into the first of our heats here tonight. Of course, splits 1, 3, and 5 here on SimSpeed TV, and it will be Grid Division start, bringing us splits 2, 4, and 6. Ross Banfield is going to start on pole position alongside Eric Starapoli. It's a Honda Civic on pole position there on the front row. Challoner, championship leader, starts alongside Nathan Dowd, 3rd and 4th. Ozzy Milwane will start out of 5th spot alongside Wade Sheedy. And then we have Gavin Barber and Dallas Pataska on the 4th row of the grid. Austin Peterson will bring his Honda out of 9th place alongside Tom Abramatis. That is the top 10, Lynn. Now we go to the rest of them.
On the next row, Daniel Stevens and Shane Vickery will share row number 6. And we got to proceed very quickly as we go, because I believe that's
a very
out.
short grid. Very short grid time indeed here. So we're going to get things started here in the Majors Series. MTCR at Mount Panorama is go. It's a good start from Ross Banfield. Launch control didn't quite go Eric Starapoli's way. Challoner's going to challenge him into Hell Corner for 2nd spot, but it's a wider exit for Starapoli, and he manages to get the momentum out of the corner. Everyone giving each other space here in the first couple of turns, trying to negotiate this ridiculous track temperature that has risen up a degree. It's now 59 degrees Celsius out there on track. Ridiculous here. It is an absolutely boiling Mount Panorama they are tackling as they make their way into turn 2. Starapoli holding on to 2nd for the time being, but Challoner getting the better exit as there's a problem for the Mega Racing team number 20. That's Tom Abramatis, who's fallen back a little bit coming out of turn 2. But we are now onto the mountain section, Dan. We are away.
Yeah, Abramatis there just trying to run the outside line through Griffin's Bend, and you and I both know that is absolute suicide in most cars. More so it seems in these TCRs with stone cold tyres to start. No grip out there for the number 20 machines. Challoner, I think, he's just found the wall across the top. Yeah, he just brushed the wall next to the grate there, which is putting him now offline through McPhillip. He's going to try and hang on to it there in the 78 machine, but he drops back a couple of spots. Has got away with it for what it seems like at this point, Lynn, but as we come back down the mountain, he's being absolutely hassled here by the guys around him. Back to P5 from his P3 starting spot. Wade Sheedy looking for a piece of the puzzle along with Dallas Pataska there.
Yeah, and it looks like Ozzy Milwane is on the attack. He's right on the back of Nathan Dowd coming through Forest Elbow. Dowd compromised on the exit, and that's going to bring another position for Milwane. Meanwhile, Jonathan Ben has had trouble at the dipper. That is the MFR Veloster out of the running for the time being. He'll be demoted by the time they get to the next heat race here. So Nathan Dowd trying his best to regain the spot here from Ozzy Milwane as our top 2 are running away from the rest of the field, Lynn. Starapoli and Banfield, they have got a nice margin over the rest of the field, but it is battling all behind.
And it's going to be like this the whole way through. No pit stops to worry about. Means you could push the whole time. And these guys managed getting up and down the mountain the first time successfully clean. That also means that we could, as we get a replay right here of how Challoner lost, losing the positions. Just getting out of shape ever so slightly, it looks like. Tires should be about up to temperature with this track at this particular point.
Yeah, TCR sometimes takes up to 2 or 3 laps to really get up to operating temperature in a normal track temp, but it's so hot here that they would be up to temperature by the time they get to the start-finish line. So now they can start really attacking. Looks like technical issues for someone further on back as they make their way into Griffin's Bend for the 2nd time here. Daniel Stevens keeping Shane Vickery here behind him. Vickery trying to get the power on coming out of Griffin's Bend. Not much to be done, though, on the run up to the cutting behind Gary Ho and Stephen Banks. Line astern doesn't seem like there's going to be much change of position between them there. Further back, we're seeing a bit of a compromised exit for Adam Johnson. Dan, this is going to bring an opportunity here for Craig Tilson in the MFR Veloster.
Half a second there was the option there for it, but lo and behold, no dice coming up under the Fujitsu signage, and then it puts the dog bear Elantra of Nick Kuhn on the gearbox of Tilson as he checks up as they come across the top. You see here, though, a little wide from Tilson, pardon me, as they come across the top, and that almost made him vulnerable to an attack, which would have been quite ambitious, to say the least, to come down the S's. And then Kuhn there, just a little deep on his way at the bottom, gets him out of shape into the dipper, and you can just see how the responsibility, well, the task you have in front of you here, the fact you need to chain together so many corners in succession and get the sequence right. You get one of them wrong and suddenly you completely throw the rhythm off somewhere else. As we look here at the front of the field for Banfield and Sarapoli. Meanwhile, a little further back, Wade Sheedy alongside Christian Challoner for that P5 spot, and the Elantra does get the nose ahead, but we're going to be side by side into the braking zone here at the chase, and Challoner is not looking to give this one up just yet.
There we go. It was said that the Honda is strong on brakes. Well, that's demonstrated right there. But Challoner ends up losing a bit of mid-corner pace. That'll bring an opportunity for Wade Sheedy potentially around the outside of Murray's corner, but you don't usually want to go for the outside there. Over or under down the start-finish straight is usually the way to go. Side by side again now between Stevens and Abramatis, who has ultimately lost 2 positions out of this. In fact, 10th, 11th and 12th inverted. Vickery now in 10th and trying to escape from this very angry pack behind. We see a car coming out of the pits. That's Ronald McPherson, who gathered some damage in the first couple of laps. He's gotten that car repaired and is back out there. Stephen Banks, meanwhile, then in the slipstream. He's going to go for the inside here at Griffin's.
This is about the best opportunity you're going to have to pass here besides the chase. Dives it down up on the inside and looks like he's going to be able to make that overtake stick. Blinking ever so slightly, which may give you a little bit of hesitation if you're driving around that driver. But able to make that pass, able to set his sights on Abramitis, and we'll proceed onward up the hill again.
Yeah, look at this. Meanwhile, Dallas Pataska now ahead of Christian Challoner. Wade Sheedy was able to get past Challoner, I believe, at turn 2. And now Pataska trying to hold on here in his Honda Civic. Austin Peterson has got the world open ahead of him, but there's no passing opportunities across the top.
So work the way back down to the S's once again. Peterson a little wide at the apex of Skyline. You can see here in front of him, Barber just throwing that Veloster in as hard as he can, but actually does get it pulled up nicely for the dipper on that particular occasion. And Peterson does back out a little bit, perhaps try and get a bit of a run there, as that's a little wide of the preferred line through Forest Elbow for the 78. And Challoner, as his teammate of Abramitis further on back, has just had a bit of a rough run too through the elbow. It's now Stephen Banks eyeing off the position that the number 20 currently holds. So we'll watch here for another drag race, Honda versus Hyundai down Conrad. And once again, a slightly better exit out of the elbow, certainly helping here, Lynn. But it will be the 938 as Stephen Banks going to try and edge ahead, but Abramitis is going to stick in it. And once again, side by side, all the way to the braking zone at the chase. And this time, though, it looks like Banks, nope, Abramitis still up the inside, will continue to contest and nose back ahead for the 20. And inside of Murray's corner coming up is his for now.
But you got to keep in mind here, Daniel, they are falling ever further back into the clutches of the 666, Kevin Santana. Why is that important? That's about where the transfer position is. If you want to stay up in this top heat, then you're going to want to stay above him at this current position.
Yeah, good point indeed.
Oh no, this comes around.
Oh dear, that's huge. Abramitis in the wall at turn 1. Was there contact involved there, or did he just lose it under brakes is the question. I'm sure we'll get a replay shortly to tell the full story. And oh dear, well, Stephen Banks already suffering technical issues. It happened again. He disappeared and Abramitis got hit and the car wasn't even there.
This will be about the worst example of what we want to see racing online, but unfortunately a painful reminder of the stark realities there, Lynn.
Yep, unfortunately that drops Abramitis back to the 19th position. And without knowing exactly what kind of damage he has experienced, he's got a big crinkle in that rear bumper. The wing looks intact. he's going to have a tough road to hoe if he wants to try to claw back a couple of these positions and get himself better situated for the next race.
Down there, race. It looks like we're talking, what, 9 seconds to even get back to P15. So that's certainly going to be a bit of an ask here with, well, like 4 on the board currently as we speak. So we're looking at another 7.5 laps here. So it's still time per se, but definitely less than what he would like.
Yeah, you'd have to be gaining over a second a lap to really make it up and be comfortable, and he'll already be dealing with damage on the rear end. Well, have a look at the losses here from Eric Staropoli. It seems like Ross Banfield has managed to lose the lead from this, and Aussie Milwane's starting to gain in the Evolve Elantra. Looks like the tyres are well and truly up to temperature for him, and coming down into the last turn here, not seeing much in the way of gains, but should be the exits where he's really making up the time. We'll see how the lead was lost here for Ross Banfield. It was a dive from Eric Staropoli, and that was beautifully done. Just secured the inside there, Lynn. And of course, in turn 2, the inside is where you want to be.
And the key thing to keep in mind, this race pays no points. It's only for transfer position. So Ross most likely may, when he saw that move being made, he didn't really contest it. He's just going to keep in the wheel tracks of Staropoli, make sure that he gets through to the next round.
Yeah, drivers, especially up the front of the field, won't be racing too hard unless it's right at the end of the race. As long as they finish in the top half of the field, they are in, but obviously starting position will be affected in the next heat. So keep an eye out for battles more and more through the track. This is down for the last position in the top 20. Ryan Steele in the Dog Bear car trying to hold off Bryce Roberts, who's picked up some damage on his front left somewhere. Could be an opportunity for Timothy Klaus to make a move. It seems like no matter where you are in the field...
front Staropoli's had a moment over across the top.
Oh dear. Okay, yes. Oh no. Oh, that's awkward. Goodness me, look at that from Aussie Milwane, managing to find his way through in the S's. You don't usually see that, Dan.
No, not at all, but it was a huge run wide into the dirt at McPhillamy Park for Staropoli. I don't quite remember, actually, check if he actually ran it into the dirt. We're going to have to slip the screen replay here, and unfortunately, yeah, he's actually over the curb, clipped the apex wall as he comes into McPhillamy Park. Reese, thankfully, it looks like that's all that happened to him there in that situation. Has got away with it otherwise, but back down in P3 though. Wants P2 back now here off of Milwane into the chase.
Yeah, so loose. Very loose indeed, just gets off the throttle and the brakes will stabilize the car briefly. It is a battle of the Elantras, and look who it's bringing into the fight, Nathan Dowd. He could be looking at a podium here, and if these guys keep fighting, this is exactly what Ross Banfield will want, Lynn.
As the kids say, Staropoli's tires are a bit on the angy side right now. Having clipped that apex, he's gotten all sorts of sideways multiple times. He's putting immense pressure on Milwane for the second position right here, but he's going to have to keep his tires in check as we take a look at the replay again. You see, bam, hits the beginning part of that curb right there and then smacks the inside wall ever so slightly. That gets the car out of shape. It's not happy. And then you end up with this situation, attempting an overtake again into turn number 2. Dives down underneath, out breaking him, and then gets a little nudge on the way out. Hello, goodbye.
Yeah, parked it on the apex there, lost a bit of momentum, but manages to keep Milwane behind him. I think it's fortunate that Staropoli didn't impact the suspension when he hit the wall. It was more of a side swipe of the whole car, because especially at the front, if you damage the wheels, then that is day done. These cars, of course, running iRacing's new damage model, and so all of the relevant parts of the suspension are simulated in the event of a crash. You'll have to keep it out of those concrete barriers for the time being. He still goes over the curb, Dan, but this time he leaves the wall at the apex well alone.
Yeah, all of them certainly looking to try and get as much curb on the entry of the film as possible. And if you can get that right, I guess the curb will sort of stop you from getting the rotation in because you suddenly pick the front left tyre up and disturb its grip for a little bit. Yeah, just in that particular case on the replay, Eric just getting a little in too deep and too hot. Paid a small price, but looks to have rebounded. But yeah, it's given Ross Banfield a comfortable gap up front, and now everyone lining up for another stab at second place. All the way back to Dallas Vitaska, who's just behind in P6, but focusing on Wade Sheedy for a second as we come into the chase. He's going to try for a run on Nathan Dowd here at the top end, but not close enough, I should say, as we come into the brakes once again at the chase on this occasion. Lynn, so top 5 or 6, pardon me, will stay as they were at the start of the Conrod Straight this time by.
In comparison to last year's round at Knockhill, there's not a lot of extra time that you can find around this particular place. So everyone's pretty much running as close as they can to the ideal lap times right now. A lot of 2 minute 21 seconds in that range right there. Although the quickest lap currently is setting at a 2:20.968. That was set by Banfield several laps ago. As we see on a replay with a couple of our onboard cameras into turn number 1, Hell Corner. That's a good little battle right there, Reese.
It is. Gav Barber we saw running wide in Murray's corner, and so that allowed Dan Stevens through, and also Stephen Banks. And I think Banks will be happy with how he's traveling at the moment, up into 11th from 14th. He's got a bit of an extra margin to stay out of the bottom half of the field. The rough transfer spot around 15th and 16th, currently occupied by Gary Ho and Adam Johnson. Both of them are involved in battles right now, which is going to give Tom Abramatis here a little bit of a leg up. But you can see just how much damage is on the rear of that Honda Civic. I think he's very lucky that he managed to get away with that without getting a meatball flagged, and it would certainly have been a rough start to the night otherwise. Not to say that it isn't already.
Yeah, unfortunately, it looks like it's going to take a fair bit more to get Abramatis into the next heat we'll be watching. You can see here in comparison to Gary Ho. So with the way we've got things ordered, Gary Ho on lap 4 obviously didn't have an incident, so that's why he's -9 seconds on Abramatis' time. But immediately after that, Abramatis picked up 1.1 seconds on the driver currently sitting in P15, but on that last lap, only 1/10 of a second. So it's going to take a fair bit more to change things there for the Mega Racing team number 20 at this stage. So we'll keep an eye on that later on in the race. We'll go back to our top 6 as they make the run down Conrod once again here on lap 7. A little close, but not close enough, it seems to be honest. Nathan Dowd's going to look here on Aussie Millway, but no, they'll all stay single file. There's no need to make too much drama out of these things, as we then got, you can see in the background, Christian Challoner and Austin Peterson just in shot there to make it 8. And then we come back to this next pack of cars from 9th all the way through to about the 15th position there, as we'll have a look at the number, is that 18 of Gary Ho? Yes, it is indeed.
Yep, he occupies the transfer spot as we speak. It will be the top 15 that go through into Heat 3 here. Remember, it's the top 15 from Heat 2, which is running simultaneously, who will make their way into the third heat along with them. We'll keep you updated on transfer spots as the event goes on. Numbers will get a little bit more exact as we make our way through side by side between Ryan Steele and Bryce Roberts, 21st and 22nd, and oh, that's a little bit of contact there. Ryan Steele massively compromised on the exit of turn 1, and that is a freebie for Troy Anderson, who it looks like had just managed to keep Don Dolson behind him. Nice little battle pack here towards the rear of the field. We still have 27 cars racing on the lead lap. Unfortunately, Ronald McPherson has had to make a trip to the pits. Richard Malagani has retired from the race. Mark Santana is in, but he is about 5 laps down right now. Scott Kukas did not take to the start, so all those drivers will be secured a spot in Heat 4 when we make our way around to that. Looking a bit further up the field, meanwhile, this is the battle for 10th. Daniel Stevens still holding off Stephen Banks, but Banks has got his hands full in with Gavin Barber and Zach Bowman. Let's see what kind of exit Bowman gets here from the elbow. It's a wider entry, should be able to carry a little more speed, and then the top speed of the Elantra will come into play.
But is he close enough to make that overtake? That's going to be the question right there. Banks is currently a couple of miles an hour quicker, and he's going to get right up onto Stevens' rear bumper right here, but does he dive to the left to make the move? Looks to the right, does the little switchback, but decides not to commit to it. Just trying to get him a little psyched out. And you see there's a little bit of grass taken out of that inside curb. Something to keep in mind, there isn't an incident cap at this particular point, but if you clip it too far, you will get a slowdown at that spot.
Indeed you will. Bowman is... Oh, no. Okay. So, Gavin Barber already was suffering issues at Murray's Corner before. Unfortunately, a bit too deep into the turn there. Clobbered the tyre barrier on the way out. And I think that might be some heavy damage for him there. It did collect the front right. Gary Ho, meanwhile, still holding on to 15th spot, but could make it 14th here as he chases down Kevin Santana. Gav Barber now just ahead of them, having lost all of that momentum, Dan.
Yeah, we'll watch, though, here on board with Gary as they head up towards turn. It looks like even further ahead, it might be Stephen Banks giving another shot at the rear bumper of Dan Stevens, not quite making it work. So that's bringing Bowman into a three-way fight with then Barber here ahead. And then Kevin Santana a bit rough through Griffin's Bend on that occasion there, allowing Gary to close up real close there, but they don't exchange spots at this time. And we're going to have a look at another angle of Gav Barber here. Bounces off the wall, clips a 654 of Bowman for their troubles, but looks like the car's going to get away with that one for now. Let's go back to the live feed and look at the potential duel that could brew here for fourth place. Leading out the back of Nathan Dowd's number 7 Honda Civic, looking back at Wade Sheedy in the 03 Hyundai Elantra as we come down into the elbow one more time.
And again, this is only for the this is only to transfer into the next race, but every position you gain here is going to help you immensely in that next round. But with these cars spread out the way they are, about 0.3 of a second in between each of them, I don't see any crazy moves unless somebody forgets where the brake pedal is. But these guys at the front end of the field should have some good memory of where that is.
Yeah, they should. Well, Nathan Dowd all over the curbs and a little bit of the grass as well, trying desperately to hold on to this fourth spot right now. Sheedy trying to keep Dallas Pataska behind. Pataska having a pretty good race, all things considered. He's obviously fallen back from his highs earlier, but still up 2 spots from where he started. He should be happy with the pace that he's got in that Honda Civic right now. We'll be picking up some crucial slipstream from the Elantras with the slight boost in straight line speed that the Elantra has. It's good if you're in a Civic running behind. It's about a second forward from the car behind that you'll be getting the full benefit of the slipstream, but there won't be much of it to play with coming up to turn 2. Just got to nail your marks and keep to the inside. Meanwhile, the battle for the lead brewing once more. Ross Banfield has managed to hold off all attackers so far. That mistake from Eric Staropoli earlier, promoting him back into the race lead. But Staropoli chasing hard as they come across the top.
Yeah, he's been closing up in the past couple of laps, Reese, and has the fast lap of the race by, at least 0.3 of a second. Looks like Aussie Milwain has the next best time, or thereabouts. Officially, it's nearly 0.4 back to Milwain. You've also got Ross Banfield's currently still sitting 2-minute 20.8 with no toe in front of him, and that Civic, which seems to, definitely looks to be a little short on straight line speed in comparison. So it's definitely all looking positive for Staropoli's Elantra in terms of lap speed. He's got 1 and a bit laps to see if he wants to have a crack at the top spot here in heat number 1. But of course, may be happy with P2 and the resulting transfer that will give us for Heat 3 in this car.
Nice slipstream that Staropoli currently has on Banfield. Pokes his nose out a little, moving in the mirrors, trying to psych him out here. The momentum is continuing into the chase, and Banfield will leave the door open, but Eric Staropoli does not walk through it, at least for the time being. He's looking a little bit rough there through the chase, but now it comes to the money-making session. It is the final lap of the race now, coming to the white flag. Telltale Tire Tracks in the braking zones and in the gravel traps on the exit of Murray's Corner. He'll be hoping that he doesn't leave any further tire tracks through that gravel trap as Banfield exits turn 1 and manages to hold him off, keep the gap up just a little bit. Starting to see some weaving now from the Honda Civic Lynn.
One other thing that Banfield has to keep in mind, he's running for the whole season championship while Staropoli behind him making his season debut. So obviously you want to keep this position right here to start up front in heat number 3, but it's not the end of the world if you lose this spot.
Yeah, exactly. So he'll just be thinking about the long term here, will Ross Banfield. If Staropoli decides to go for a major dive, then I don't expect he'll fight it too hard. He can always come back, because while Staropoli has looked quick all night so far, it seems like he hasn't quite been able to work out those minor errors that cost him time. Sometimes major ones, like what happened at McPhillamy Park towards the start of the race. Across the top, this is the spot where Staropoli made his error, and he actually nails the line through there. Beautiful stuff, Dan. Now down through the S's one final time. Look at how much curb Staropoli is taking. He wants this.
He sure does, and he's throwing that Elantra around as much as he can to make up for it's small differences, but definitely you can see Banfield composed and still has plenty of pace in that leading 777 Honda Civic. So now one final chance under brakes coming up. Banfield will start the weave as we come through the kink here on Conrod, and then back and forth we go down this straightaway. And Staropoli looks like he's not quite closing up as quickly as I would have thought he would have liked. So we might just be seeing this be the end of it here. We'll see who they come down to the chase. On the brakes, who is latest? And the answer is, I'd have to say that was Banfield's brake lights coming on slightly later. Staropoli, he throws it onto the apex curb though. Reese, he might be close enough for one final shot at Murray's Corner, but it looks like that might not be the case there. Half a car length in it as they come to the final turn for heat number 1, and that will be Ross Banfield who comes out the other side in first place. Staropoli will have to settle for second here in heat number 1.
Great win for Ross Banfield in Heat 1 here at MTCR. Meanwhile, Gav Barber, he's just lost positions to Kevin Santana and Gary Ho for the transfer. Is there going to be a chance here for Adam Johnson and Nick Kuhn to make up some time? There's still just too much of a gap. So the gold and green Honda Civic for Kingsman Racing is going to have to settle for demotion into Split 4. And that will run the battle to the end. Klaus, Anderson, Dolson, and Steele still fighting. We can also include Bryce Roberts at the front of this train. And it seems like no one has been able to gain time out of the chase enough for a move into Murray's Corner. So, information from Heat 2, which has been taking place simultaneously. Thomas Hinz winning that one. We know how quick Hinzy is. He's certainly going to be taking the fight to them in Heat 3. So, results then from the first heat of the night here at Mount Panorama. Ross Banfield by 3/10 from Eric Staropoli. Aussie Mill Wayne managing to hold on to third. Nathan Dowd finishes where he started in fourth place. Sheedy gaining a spot. Pataska up 2 spots. Christian Challoner would have been hoping for better. Started third, had to settle for 7th after contacting the wall on lap 1. Peterson finishes in 8th. Vickery makes it from outside the top 10 to finish 9th. Same for Daniel Stevens, who rounds out that top 10, Lynn.
It's a good top 10 right there. Keep going further down. Stephen Banks at 11th. Zachary Bowman at 12th. Kevin Santana moving up to 13th at the very end. Followed closely behind by Gary Ho. Gavin Barber will take the very last transfer position to go straight to heat number 3 and a chance at more points later on down the line. Meanwhile, we will have to say goodbye for the time being to Adam Johnson, Nick Kuhn, Sebastian Jackson, Tom Abramitis, and Bryce Roberts rounding out the top 20.
Our final third of cars is going to be continued on with Timothy Klaus there in 21st place. Did make up 5 spots to get there, but unfortunately is well outside the transfer. Troy Anderson in behind him for 22nd. Don Dolson and Ryan Steele, that final pack of cars through to 24th place that we caught at the end before you get back to Craig Tilson in 25th spots. Unfortunately for him, dropping 8 spots to be there. Wayne Hutchinson in behind in P26, and Jonathan Bean, early dramas for the 019 as well, seeing him down in 27th in our final car on the lead lap. Ronald McPherson, unfortunately, 1 lap shy of the finish. Mark Santana, 5 laps short, and Richard Malagani, 9 laps short. And in addition, over the page, Scott Koukas unfortunately occupies that final page all by himself with dramas on his first lap, meaning he couldn't finish the race, as well with a VR headset problem there for him, Reese, to round out our Heat 1 grid.
Indeed. Well, this is certainly going to be a fun night. Remember, Majors is supporting Men's Health Trust New Zealand for this round. Go to menshealthnz.org.nz to lend your support to a charity making a big difference in the lives of men in New Zealand. As we move on over to Heats 3 and 4, remember, Heat 2 broadcast on Grid Vision. Their broadcast is running simultaneously, so check them out if you want the full picture of tonight's racing. Thomas Hins, Verwyen, and Justin Morton are going to round out the podium in the second heat. And we will come back very shortly here on SimSpeed TV to bring you the third heat of the night, Grid Vision broadcasting Heat 4. I'm Reese Gardner, Dan Yeaman and Lynn Kinchelow with me in the comms box here. Jay Kennedy behind the scenes pressing all the buttons and making things happen. We're SimSpeed TV. Don't go away. The night will continue very shortly.
Hey, you know that guy who just before the green flag keys up his mic and asks, "Anybody got a setup?" Well, this is him. This is Adam, and hey, Adam needs some help. On the other hand, this guy over here, this is Steve. Steve is a solid racer and he knows his way around the garage. Steve's problem is time. With a job and a family, he can't find enough time to build competitive setups and to race as often as he likes. But as luck would have it, Steve knows a secret. He lets the Majors Garage crew chiefs do the setup work so he can focus on the racing. At majorsgarage.com, Steve can get setups for over 60 cars on the iRacing service. So no matter what series he wants to jump into, he is covered. Somebody, anybody, really should tell Adam. See you at the garage.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
You're watching SimSpeed TV Round 4 of the Majors 2024 Championship in the Pacific region. MTCR Australia going to Mount Panorama. We've already run the first 2 heat races of the night. Now we get into heats 3 and 4. Of course, we are broadcasting Heat 3 here on SimSpeed TV. Grid Vision simultaneously broadcasting Heats 2, 4 and 6 along with us. So make sure to check them out to get the full picture of tonight's racing. So, Heat 2 results from Grid Vision. Thomas Hinz winning by 1.2 seconds from Stephen Verwaayen. Justin Morton completing the podium. Top 10 drivers there will all be joining us for the third heat, plus 5 over on another page. Top 15, of course, transferring through for Heat 2. Now, when we come into Heats 3 and 4, the top 25 from Heat 3 are going to transfer through into Heat 5, and then the top 5 from Heat 4 will also transfer through to Heat 5 with them. So a little bit of different transfer spot shenanigans going on here, but should still be fun to see who gets into those coveted positions. I'm Reese Gardner, if you're just joining us. Dan Yeaman and Lynn Kinchelo are with me in the comms box. Jay Kennedy handling production behind the scenes. Tell you what, Lynn, it's going to be interesting to see the matchups that we'll be seeing in this third heat of the night. Thomas Hinz, of course, a very quick driver and always in and around the top 10 in the majors. Let's see how he matches up with the fastest from Heat 1.
As you said, Reese, it's a new cast of characters coming and joining the ones that we were watching before. So I expect the top half of the field in this particular heat to be much closer together, with all of the Heat 1 drivers starting on the odd numbered positions, drivers from Heat 2 starting at the even numbered positions, and as you said, top 25 will transfer to the top final in Heat number 5, so there's going to be action all over the track for this next round.
There absolutely is. Dan, we saw how high the track temperature was in Heat 1, but Lynn did tell us before we went live that we're expecting the track to be cooling down, so that might change the nature of the racing a bit. Of course, TCR, as sensitive to track temperature changes as any other class. What do you think it might bring?
It'll be interesting to watch, I think that's for sure. I think whether it works in the favour of the drivers will be one thing to be curious about, because yeah, if it does cool off, it might slow down the rate at which the tyres warm up. That is the main thing to worry about. But it also may mean that drivers can push a little harder, a little longer as well. So there's a bit of a trade-off at the start to gain a little bit more in the later laps. Then again, in saying that, these tyres should be able to hang on for the whole race without too much degradation, even in the really high temps we saw in that opening heat of the night. So all things considered, it's more a case of really just affecting those opening couple of laps, I think, at this stage, as to how things will be different here in Heat 2 with the race start and the tyre warm-up.
Indeed. Well, we're still waiting for the first of our servers to go up. Should be going live imminently, so we'll be able to bring you live pictures very shortly from within the session. But I think one of the drivers that we're looking for a bit more from, Lynn, is Tom Abramidis. Of course, he was running very strongly in the top 10 around that area. Unfortunately, getting bumped off at turn 1 in Heat 1. That means he's down in Heat 4 now for this next stanza of the night. He's going to need a top 5 finish to make his way back into the top. So the question is, can he scrape in and rejoin the rest of our compatriots here?
It's gonna be a tough road to hoe. As his finishing position means he'll start 8th in Heat number 4, and as you say, he needs to pick up at least 3 positions to be able to get back into our splits. And from what I saw, he did not look all that comfortable with the car as it was going over. His split at this particular point is forecasting to be cooler. One of the things with the Tempest system is each of the races will spawn slightly differently. His is forecasted to be about 71 degrees Fahrenheit, partly cloudy. Seems quite nice. Whereas in the split that we're about to launch into, overcast conditions are being projected with about 80 degrees Fahrenheit air.
So it will be a very cool track that will be greeting the drivers very shortly. They're all filing into the server now. I'm loading in myself. We'll be able to get ourselves in for another race at Mount Panorama very shortly. So it's 11 lap sprints here, Dan. The main thing, as you mentioned, is the tires. They should be able to last 11 laps, but man, have a look at the track temperature there. It is cloudy, but the track temp is still 50 degrees Celsius. Looks like they will still have a little bit of trouble, maybe stopping the tires from overheating.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be a game of how hard are the drivers pushing their cars with a temperature like that once again, because as you point out, that will certainly mean that drivers will have to be mindful they don't overdrive it. Because, yeah, whilst the tyres are designed, they should be able to handle an endurance length stint of, well, around here, it'd be at least double, if not almost triple, the length of the racing we saw earlier on, at minimum. Still, in a short stretch, you can easily knock off valuable tyre life if you get it a little bit off pace in the quarter. And we did see a bit of that during that opening heat, just getting yourself out of sequence, and then you're chasing the car, especially all the way down the mountain from Skyline to Forest Elbow in particular, that complex, just continuing to need to be on the right line to maintain your speed, your rhythm, and everything to do with it there.
Well, cars are out on track right now. Dan Stevens getting some extra track time in. I would assume that there won't be much change to setups, Lynn, with the track temperature still rather high. And they will still be biasing the cars towards a little bit of extra rotation, I think, just to make sure that they get out of the corners straight in these very hot conditions.
Yep. Only a couple of degrees difference, so I wouldn't expect people to throw out the setup and change completely, like it is the meta in some places. But again, it's still very warm, and also we have lost quite a bit of rubber from the previous running. In the last session, we had a 2-hour practice to rubber in the course. Here, we don't have that much time, and there's only a little bit of rubber right now, so there is the track is going to be a little bit slick at the very start.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how much rubber they get on the racetrack here. Practice has low track usage set, so only 20% rubbered in. So it is going to be a very slick track that greets the drivers when they get to the race. 5 minutes left in this 10-minute warm-up, which isn't enough time to really place down that rubber, Dan. They're only going to be able to make about 3 or 4 laps max in this session.
Yeah, indeed. So it will mean that things should be pretty slick, as you said, to keep on going here as well. So that would be curious to see how much that changes things, because I didn't quite keep an eye on the track state for that opening server in comparison. So that will be one to watch. I think another thing to also note here is that the winds are pretty mild here from the east at a speed of 7 to 8 kilometers an hour. So there's not much in terms of the wind, and if anything, that's going to mean it's a light crosswind down Conrod and up Mountain Straights that actually will push the drivers gently up towards the cutting out of Griffin's Bend, if I remember my orientation of Bathurst correctly here. And yeah, that roughly checks out. It might, yeah, not a perfect tailwind up to from Griffin's to the cutting, but close enough.
Yeah, east-southeasterly. It seems is the general trending wind direction, and only 5 k's an hour. It's going to be a very, very subtle effect, if any, on these cars at the speeds they carry. We're already getting some close racing in the warm-up session. Best to get that kind of practice in now as they make their way down to Griffin's Bend. The Honda leading the two Elantras. It's Kevin Hill, Robbie Bradbury, and Eric Staropoli, who finished in second place in Heat 1. He has got the world ahead of him here to try and keep those points up. Kevin Hill for Evolve Sim Sports struggling here to keep the pace up through the cutting, but nailing the exit. Nicely done there. A little bit of a cloud falling over the circuit right now, which should provide a little more grip to the drivers. And interesting to see there, Lynn, the track temperature actually falling by a few degrees. So maybe that's exactly what the drivers will be hoping for coming into the race.
Of course, what it means is more grip, more, being able to go around the track quicker. But the other thing to keep in mind is that cloud cover is not gonna last for much longer. It looks like about the start of the race will remain like this, but then as they progress through, the clouds will part and then the temperature should rise right back up as they get to the second half of this race.
So 2 minutes remaining in the session, and Thomas Hinz is out on track right now in the Henry James Racing Hyundai Elantra. Be interesting to see how he stacks up to the rest of the field. Of course, snake splits what the format is based off here. So one side of the grid is going to be the top 15 from Heat 1, and the other side will be the top 15 from Heat 2. So Hinzi will definitely be starting on the front row here, being the winner of Heat 2. He's going to have to get the launch control sorted here for a good run versus the winner of Heat 1, Ross Banfield. Dan, I'm interested to see what that matchup's going to be.
Yeah, and I mean also the fact that the way that the heats were initially set by the pre-qualifying times and that big use to determine who was going to race MTCR this weekend, whether that means Hinzi's lost Jay.
Yeah.
All right, apologies for that there, folks. We're back on the air now, it seems, and hopefully we'll have our feedback soon. Thanks to some lovely technical dramas for part of the experience. But yeah, getting back to what I was saying there, Reece, I think because pre-qualifying means that I guess there's no guarantee that, and unfortunately being roped in late for commentary means I haven't quite caught up on everything to do with the build-up to today's action. I would expect Hinzi should be a decent shout to be at least in the transfer window, just a question. And given he was starting up the front of this field as well, unless something went horribly wrong, he should be still well within contention for this race.
Yes, seems like the entire server had a bit of a wobble there. I noticed that I briefly lost touch with the race server for a moment there, so hopefully those issues are only momentary, and we'll get ourselves a nice stable race session here. Look at that, Hinzi straight to the top in the warm-up session. Challoner 8/10 off. Stephen Verweyen, who finished in second place in Heat 2. Currently second in the warm-up as the checkered flag flies, and we can go to the grid. Let's smash through the top 10 at least before we get ourselves going here. So it will be Ross Banfield who starts on the front row alongside Thomas Hinz, Staropoli and Verweyen third and fourth. Milwain and Morton will round out the top 6. Nathan Dowd and Kevin Hill 7th and 8th. Sheedy, Bennett, Pataska and Medina will round out our top 12 as we go through the rest of the field here. Some interesting matchups between drivers who we don't often see starting alongside each other. Dan Stevens and Robbie Bradbury alongside each other. Barber and Lottridge 29th and 30th to round out our full field. And now we can get a brief moment to rest and just take in this field as we get ready to go racing. Once again, drivers starting round the back of Murray's Corner as the revs rise, and Heat 3 of MTCR Australia is go. Once again, Ross Banfield has got the launch control sorted. Thomas Hinz, unfortunately, missing that cue to get on the power, and he's already lost second place and under a lot of pressure from Aussie Milwain. It's a bit of a rough start here for Thomas Hinz as the field fans out behind a whole bunch of drivers that haven't encountered each other yet tonight, racing with each other for the first time. How do you tackle this? How do you make your moves? How aggressive do you want to be? Tell you what, Hinzy's going to be aggressive. He's going to try and keep third place from Aussie Milwain, and he succeeds going up the inside of turn 2. Very close racing here as Kevin Hill manages to climb over the curb on the exit of turn 2 and keep his car going. Christian Challoner starting all the way down in 13th place, already up 2 spots. Can he make it 3? Justin Morton up ahead of him. Challoner very wide in the cutting. Once again, it's a bit of a chaotic start here, Lynn.
And you don't want to make mistakes. It's a super short race. And guess what? Somebody's made a mistake. Car number 9, Stephen Verwain, is showing a black flag for a jump start. That is going to absolutely ruin his night. He's going to have a very hard time catching back up once he serves that penalty.
Yeah, indeed. But don't forget, it's the top 25 from this race that transfer through to the final top heat of the night, Heat 5. So Verwaien might just be able to claw that back. He's going to be put a long way back, though. It remains to be seen exactly where he's going to be put when he eventually takes that penalty. He's currently down in 6th place. Everything quite chaotic for the Evolved Sport. Cilantra.
Swaby is backwards on the apex of the elbow.
Oh dear, that's no good there for Lyndon Swaby, and that is the front right destroyed. The car is actually sitting on the road there. He's completely lost all the suspension, and unfortunately it looks like he lost it all by himself. We'll get the replay shortly as we keep our eyes peeled on the number 9 of Stephen Verwaien trying to make up spots here. Goes immediately for the pits, Lynn, to serve that penalty.
Pretty much this is the prime opportunity to take it. You lose the least amount of time to the cars in front, and you don't have to, you don't risk compounding your issues if you get into trouble further up the hill.
Yep, so a tour through the pits for that as we check out the jump start. Started in 4th place, and you know, when you're a little bit, oh man, that will certainly sting. That is massive jump start there, just rolled forward, didn't get back on the brakes in time. And meanwhile, here's what happened to Lyndon Swaby. Just over the rise, coming into the elbow, Dan, the rear end went, tyres were still cold, brakes were still cold. Very easy to do.
Yeah, and even though the Elantra's got that longer wheelbase, it certainly is no stranger to cold tyre upsets. In this one, as Verwaien has gotten out, as Robbie Bradbury further up the road of the 940H has gotten contact as he's fighting up through the cutting, and that's dinted the right side of the 948 Honda Civic, but it looks like he's going to get out the other side. Okay, no, the 01 machine. Austin O'Neill gets involved, and he's going to get more cars involved at will, more cars.
Oh,
we are at risk of a blockage here.
Roger Shank in the Audi there, and engine exploded there for Austin O'Neill. Robbie Bradbury is able to continue with a destroyed front end, but I think Roger Shank will retire from the race as a result of that. That is massive.
Trouble as well. The 023 Pataska looks a little damaged. Is that left tyre okay? Camera angle doesn't quite tell me there, but he's just had a very rough run down through the elbow as well. I think he might have just gotten away with it. Yeah, right side is scraped up, left side is okay.
Yeah, okay, he just lost the rear end coming through the dipper, and unfortunately, you know, sometimes it is the way to go to get on the power to arrest a slide. If you do that too early, you just get straight into the wall. So there's the incident for the Honda Civic, and then through comes Lyndon Swaby, through comes Austin O'Neill. Yeah, side by side through this section doesn't always go, and that is exactly why in the middle of a full field of cars on the second lap of a race, I wouldn't expect much differently.
Yeah, and that was kind of the concern that a lot of the drivers had going into this middle heat with this, but look at where Verwaien has managed to work his way back towards. Since he wasn't in the mess, he gets to transfer all the way to the forward, and he's in. He just passed Gary Ho for 24th, but that more importantly puts him in the grand final.
Yes, certainly does. So a blessing in disguise there. It was a bit of a horrific crash that we saw up the top of the mountain, but it has helped out Stephen Verweyen. He will just scrape in to the final heat regardless. So keep an eye out for him to see if he can make up any further positions. It will improve his starting spot for Heat 5. Meanwhile, this is the battle for second. Ross Banfield is driving away from them right now. There's not much catching him. Thomas Hinz was running in third after missing the start by just a tenth or so of a second. But he's made his way back up into second, Dan, and he's steadfastly holding off Eric Staropoli. They'll have to keep an eye out for Milwain, Dowd and Sheedy behind.
Nice close pack here, top of the order. I have to say, by the looks of things, Hinzy's the only one from Heat 2 that's been able to hang on to a spot in the top 5. The next best appears to be Brian Bennett back in 7th. So they've Heat 1 drivers that we saw earlier on in their opening race here on SimSpeed have definitely muscled their way forward a bit off the opening couple of laps. And you now see who settles into what positions. As a weather update there in the bottom right of the screen. Track temperature at the race session start dropped to just under 50 degrees Celsius and is holding relatively stable at about 47. Winds still light, still some cloud cover to do as well to try and help cool things down, but with nearly maximum air temperature to go along with it as well, I certainly don't expect this to be cooling down at any reasonable rate, at least, as we go on board. Kristen Challoner, currently back in P10, has made up some spots. So the Mega Racing Team 78 looking to recover after that small mistake in Heat 1. Lynn put him back a little further than he would like.
But he's gained some positions off the start. He's up +3, and every position that he gains here is another chance to not have to pass cars later on in the grand final, where the money's paid out, where they award the points. So these laps are going to be very crucial for everybody in the top 10. What can you gain to help you later on?
That is the question. Well, Thomas Hinz is making some gains, isn't he? Look at him. He's actually brought it to within 0.8 of a second of Ross Banfield at the front of the field. That is quite the time from Thomas Hinz. 2:19.6. 2:20.4 is what Banfield said on the last lap. That is a solid 0.8 of a second that Hinz has taken out of Banfield just in the previous lap. Look at that. So lap 1 obviously didn't go his way. He started clawing back on lap 2. And now it seems the tyres are up to temperature in Hinz's Elantra, chasing down Banfield's Civic. And how long will Banfield be able to hold on? Hinzy's on the attack, Dan.
He is, and we saw Banfield was able to hang on in race 1, but the rate that Thomas Hinz is just caught up even right now across the top of the mountain, where supposedly it's the Civic that holds the advantage, is looking quite noticeable indeed as we watch a little further back there, and Staropoli and Milwain and the cars behind him hunt down. But we'll go on board here with Hinzy. You can see he has got the focus on here. Is at 0.6 back, almost under 7. He should be getting a bit of a handy bit of slipstream now, which will boost the top speed of his Elantra on top of what it can do on its own. There you go, comes under 0.6, so there's 0.5 already gained, and it'll gain another 0.5 pretty much there. So it gains about 1/10 and some change in straight line speed, so it keeps him well within the window. He's just going to now see back to second gear for Hinz. He's going to actually use some more engine braking there, it seems. Get the car rotated better into the corner, and then try and power out in second, which we saw from a couple of drivers in Heat 1 when we went on board with them at the chase. Third gear was also preferred at times in comparison.
Yeah, indeed. I think, just using third gear in the chase in the slightly hotter conditions would have helped the wheel spin and the understeer on the way out. But Hinzy obviously content to, like you say, use that engine braking. From my experience driving the Elantra, sometimes it is best to go down a gear further than you'd otherwise want. It does sort of help you get that little extra boost when you get on the throttle. And once you slip up into third, you'll keep that momentum going. Hinzy's now right on the back of Banfield as we check out Aussie Milwain's view here of Eric Staropoli. It's more gains being made for the Evolve Sim Sports number 114. They have to keep an eye out behind. Still got Dowd, Sheedy, even Brian Bennett could be a factor come the end of this heat. Look at that, Hinsey right on the back of Banfield coming across the top lane, but he can't make his way past here.
The track is just simply too narrow. This place may seem like a road course, but it thinks it's a street circuit. You could make a dive up here into the S's right here, but I don't see that being a viable strategy. Banfield scraping some paint off of the car. Man, that stuff does not come cheap, buddy.
Oh, certainly doesn't, especially considering the car Banfield's driving using a couple of spec maps. There's a little bit of dull gloss in that car as well, which might be making the car a little bit heavier. You never know. That might be why Thomas Hinz is gaining so much. Bit more of a matte paint job on the number 20. That will shave a few grams off, won't it? Look at that in the slipstream. Thomas Hinz gaining and gaining further as they come into the chase. Again, it's the top two who have broken away from the rest of the field. And here comes Hinsey. He looks at it coming into the braking zone, but not able to get on the brakes late enough to still make the corner. So he'll pull away. And oh dear, Christian Challoner facing a problem here. Kevin Hill will make his way back into 9th place as a result of that. Challoner still having a pretty stable round. He might stand a chance of losing the championship lead coming out of this round if he can't get the same kind of result in the final heat of the night. That's how he did it, and unfortunately just a little bit too deep. He gathered it up but lost all of that momentum, and the number 52 could just drive right on by.
That he could indeed, as we'll go back to the live feed here and watch as Hinz again threatens, gets back out from underneath and tucks back in though for the run into Griffin's Bend, and see now as these guys keep fighting, their lap times are down on Staropoli, Milwain, Dowd, Sheedy, Bennett, Morton, all the way back to P8. So practically, if these two keep going here, it's not much from Hinsey right now, but it's allowing that entire pack behind Lynn to drag themselves up to the gearbox of the number 20 here, and then make it a bit more of a big old battle rather than just a two-car scrap for the lead.
And what you saw there was that even though it is a very short race, different tactical approaches. With Hinz right at the front, he could afford to basically take a practice swing at it, not actually make the move going down into the chase, sort of figure out what is Ross going to do when he reacts to that maneuver. Counterpoint is Challoner. He's got some positions to make up as we take a look at the super slow-mo replay of the cars being very shiny and sleek. Up the mountain they go. Back to the main point. Challoner took a swing at it. It didn't quite work. He's lost a little bit of time, but he's got that information for later.
Yeah, remember, the drivers are not racing for round points in these preliminary heats. It is going to be Heat 5 that decides the round winner and where the points are awarded. So all the drivers are just going to be trying to set themselves up for that run into Heat 5, the run to the final finish of the night. There goes Hinsey up the inside of Banfield. Oh, Lordy, he had a big go at Murray's corner, but it didn't work out for him. Now he's going to have to do a lot of that hard work all over again, Dan. A few car lengths back, and Eric Staropoli will be in the draft.
Staropoli is most definitely in the draft of Hinz now, as Banfield was almost middle of the road defensive there. Hinz decided, sure, okay, I can afford the crossover to see what happens here. Under brakes it again. Braking power of Banfield in that leading Honda Civic, able to outbrake Hinz as Justin Morton's dropping down the tower. Although that's not because of an incident. He looks to have dropped momentarily from the server, so we'll wait to see if he comes back in. Oh, never mind. It's something a bit more terminal than that, it seems.
Oh, no. Look at him.
That is... Oh... running comfortably in the lead pack and was on track for the Heat 5 start, and looks like, unfortunately for him, that's gone sideways all of a sudden.
Still got his VR headset on, so I don't think it's a failure of the VR headset that he's dealing with. It's definitely something to do with his internet or his hardware. That's a big problem there for Justin Morton. Could be a computer failure that we're hearing. But, man, how would you be if you're Justin Morton, a very successful driver in this series? So keep an eye out here, and that's exactly what happened to him there. He just disappeared off the circuit. Seems like potentially his computer crashed or something. Can't really say for sure, Lynn. We don't know exactly what happened, but regardless, sim racing, it's not only mechanical failures you have to deal with.
There seems to be a rash of those failures today. I don't ever remember a round at the majors where so many people have had different issues. We had 3 or 4 people drop out due to connection issues in heat number 1, and just now, Morton potentially having hardware failure. Hopefully he can get the vehicle back together for the final heat, be able to salvage some points. But in the majors, there is a drop week that you could utilize, and he may have that available to him as we get an incident in the backfield.
Oh, that's not a good spot. That's the exit of the chase there for Kevin Hill. He manages to get out of the way of the approaching cars, and it seems he's escaped damage. What on earth happened to him? Let's find out. Christian Challoner behind him and making the move into the chase. This time, Challoner does make it stick, but then through comes Dallas Pataska and taps him around.
That was very, very greedy at that particular point. Left the door ever so slightly, probably trying to think of a counterattack as we get a change for the lead right there. Hins getting around at the front.
So Thomas Hins finally to the lead of the race, as he'd been threatening to do for the last 8 laps running. And now it's up to him to consolidate that gap. Needs to avoid making too many errors. You just get the feeling, Dan, he was just trying to line up that move for the entire race up to this point. Now he can unleash his true pace, not having to follow another car around the top.
Certainly will help a little bit there, and it was also helped by Eric Staropoli whilst we were looking at the replay and the feed from Justin Morton. Staropoli doing not exactly what he did in the opening race tonight, but he just ran a little wide at McPhillamy. I think it was Staropoli who did it last time. If not, I've completely got that wrong, and I'm sorry for suggesting it. Staropoli's made 2 mistakes at McPhillamy in that case, but yeah, just running wide did the 28 in this heat at least. And that took the pressure off Hins, it seems, whilst he was also aggressive over the top, which allowed him to get away at the same time. And he's already started to pull a near seconds margin on Banfield, who will now get some help down Conrad Straight on this occasion at least. And it's not much, but he's getting back on the number 20 here as we go on board with the first of our roll of cars. And Aussie Milwayne looking at Staropoli ahead in third. And Milwayne's got Nathan Dowd right up behind him as well in this lead pack battle still.
Gotta say, it's been a very consistent night for Nathan Dowd so far, finishing in 4th place, I believe, or was it 3rd in Heat 1, up and around that spot, and he's still holding on to a position in the top 5 in this one. Could be looking at 4th if he can make his way past Aussie Milwayne. I think he's been a bit of a dark horse, flying under the radar, Lynn. Let's see what Dowd can do here on the exit of Hell Corner. He's actually gotten a very nice run out of the corner. We might be seeing a move here, but Milwayne defensive.
Again, like you said, finished 4th in heat number 1. Very strong results thus far, and another opportunity to gain even more positions here. Again, this second heat sets the grid for the 3rd and final. Not able to make any move there. In fact, I think he was a little bit too close to the rear bumper of Milwayne to make any kind of moves, but a lot of cars gaining a few positions. Challoner started 13th. He's up to 8th. Nathan Medina started 12th, up to 9th. Guys making passes now that they don't have to worry about later.
Exactly. Of course, they may have to worry about it if they mess up the application of launch control on the race start, like we've already seen a few drivers do tonight. Well, the track temperature we saw flash up on the screen earlier has dropped further. It's now down to 46 degrees Celsius. We saw that cloud pass over the circuit, and that really helped to lower the track temperature by just that little bit. So things should be a little more manageable for the drivers out there. We're rapidly coming to the start of the penultimate lap, so a good time for the track to be cooling slightly. Staropoli collecting the wall on the exit of Forest Elbow, only by a tiny bit, but it's enough to ruin his straight line run down Conrod, and now he'll have to look in his mirrors. Here comes Aussie Milwane. He's not going to get close enough for a move at the chase, but if Staropoli can't maintain momentum through this corner, then his fellow Elantra will be right on him. Got to keep an eye out for Nathan Dowd as well. He's keeping himself as a nice factor in this battle, Dan. That's Aussie Milwane going wide on the exit of the chase. This could be the move that Nathan Dowd needs. He has a look, but he decides to stay behind for a corner longer, and it is only going to be a corner longer because Milwane is wide out of Murray's. Nathan Dowd will move into the top 4.
That little look into Murray seems to have done the trick, as the evolved SimSports machine of Milwane just drives in a little hot to that last turn and basically offers up his spot on a silver platter. Unfortunately there for the 114, and Wade Sheedy wanted a piece of the pie at turn 1, but they all parked up as Milwane tried to continue to fight for that spot off of Dowd again. So check up, and Sheedy not able to get a run by the inside there, but lovely stuff by Nathan Dowd indeed. Has made 3 spots up since the start of this race, starting on that inside line. So it was the 4th car from the Heat 1, now going to be the 4th car in Heat number 2 as things shake out at this rate.
Verwaayen, meanwhile, making his way up into 19th. He is within the transfer to get into the Heat 5 grid. Robbie Bradbury currently holds on to that final transfer spot. Remember, the top 5 from Heat 4 will also transfer through. We'll bring you those results after the break once this race concludes. But keep an eye out for Shane Vickery. He might just be able to scrape in. What's the pace like between those two? Well, the last lap for Robbie Bradbury was a 2:20.9. Vickery ran 0.3 faster, Lynn, so we might see a change here for the final transfer position.
But I think you'd be hard-pressed to make up that much ground in this little amount of time. It's a horrible feeling when you're sitting just one way out of the transfer and there's so much ground left to cover, not nearly enough time to do it. You start getting those dark little thoughts of like, I'm hoping somebody else has an issue. Unfortunately, when that tends to happen, is we get a battle here for position up at the front. Those thoughts, once they start entering your head, then you start making mistakes.
Yeah, Mount Panorama is a circuit where you can't afford to let that happen. You have to have your focus all the way up, all the time, even down the long straights. You might think you're getting a moment to rest, but you really don't. This track is a public road for most of the year, so there's a big crowd in the road down Mountain and Conrod Straights. Have to keep yourself in the game, and that's exactly what Thomas Hinz has been doing as the final lap begins. Christian Challoner now takes the fastest lap. He's sitting there in the slipstream of Brian Bennett and could be looking at a 7th place finish if he plays his cards right by the end of this lap.
And that's the beauty of the majors right here. It's 10 rounds, 10 completely different combinations, so you get different people running great in individual rounds. And then you have guys like Christian Challoner, former Pro Series on the NASCAR side, always consistently fast. As we get another battle here, these guys just keep swapping this position back and forth.
Yeah, beautiful fight here between Aussie Milwane and Wade Sheedy, still on for 9th, as well as we see Dallas Pataska trying to line up a move on Nathan Medina. We've got Evolved SimSport cars involved in both of these fights. not much that Wade Sheedy can do to get past Aussie Milwane coming into the S's, and almost loses the rear end on the way through as well. Is there anything that Nathan Medina can do to hold off Dallas Pataska and Austin Peterson, who's a driver we haven't spoken about much tonight? Peterson could take advantage if there's a coming together between those two ahead, but the front of the field is now on Conrod Straight for the final time in Heat 3. And at the moment, it is the Thomas Hinz show. There hasn't been much that anyone can do to overcome his fantastic pace. Slipstream City down Conrod Straight. Can Wade Sheedy do anything to get past Aussie Milwane coming into the final couple of corners? Doesn't seem that way, so we can keep an eye on Thomas Hinz as he makes his way over the rise down to Murray's Corner, already flashing the headlights in celebration. Thomas Hinz will win Heat 3 here of MTCR at Mount Panorama, and that will put him on pole position for the final heat of the night. He could find himself coming away with a round win from this, which would be fantastic. The battles work out further down the field. Once again, it's a case of drivers not pushing too hard on the final laps, knowing that they have their positions secured. But I'll tell you what, it could be on for 25th place. No, it doesn't look like it. It's just too much of a gap between Robbie Bradbury and Shane Vickery as things stand. It's still on for 23rd. Jake Fox trying to hold off Jason Lottridge here. One of the few Audis in the field tonight. Looks like Jake Fox is going to secure himself a spot in the final heat right there. So, waiting for our final couple of finishes. It's been a tough race for many a driver here, but Robbie Bradbury will just scrape through into the final heat himself with a 25th spot finish. Let's see if he can advance himself up the field in Heat 5, Dan.
Yeah, that will be one to watch in terms of drivers like that who have, at the back of the field, definitely not where they wanted to be, but we'll come to our race results now to look at them here. So Hinz from Banfield, going to make it your top two. Staropoli there, going to settle into third place, which is where he started out the night. Nathan Dowd making it up 4 spots to make it a second, fourth place finish over the night for him. There, Aussie Milwane started 5th, going to finish 5th as well. Wade Sheedy picks up 3 to come home in P6, as does Brian Bennett up 3 to make it a P7 finish tonight. Kristen Schoen with a critical 5 spots gain to get himself back inside the top 10 there with P8. And then Nathan Medina and Dallas Pataska rounding out our top 10 in this second heat for us here on SimSpeed, Lynn.
H2 brings us the another group of drivers: Austin Peterson, Trevor Vravorsky, Daniel Stevens, as we've seen before on the cameras. Zachary Bowman 14th. Kevin Hill surviving that little encounter with Dallas Pataska earlier to get to the 15th position. Followed by Stephen Banks, Gavin Barber, Christian Abate, Stephen Verdwayne. After that jump start, able to recover to get back into the transfer position, but he's lost a ton of ground overall. Falling closely behind by Joshua Wolf. And we'll take a look at the next page.
Indeed we shall. Gary Hope finished in the transfer spot in Heat 1, finishes in the transfer in Heat 3 as well. Kevin Santana and Jake Fox will come home behind him. Fox a bit less than a second ahead of Jason Lottridge. Then Robbie Bradbury in 25th. He will be the last driver to come from Heat 3 to Heat 5. O'Neill, Shank, Swaby, Morton will all unfortunately have to take part in Heat 6. They will not be in contention for overall round points at the top end at the very least. Hopefully Morton has sorted out the what we now know are software issues that unfortunately plagued him in this race, and he can try and salvage some points from tonight. That is going to bring to a conclusion the middle phase of tonight's racing in the Majors Pacific region, round 4 of 2024. Thomas Hinz is in the box seat, but does Banfield or Staropoli or even Nathan Dowd have anything to come up against him with? We will find out very shortly here on SimSpeed TV.
Hey, you know that guy who just before the green flag keys up his mic and asks, "Anybody got a setup?" Well, this is him. This is Adam, and hey, Adam needs some help. On the other hand, this guy over here, this is Steve. Steve is a solid racer and he knows his way around the garage. Steve's problem is time. With a job and a family, he can't find enough time to build competitive setups and to race as often as he likes. But as luck would have it, Steve knows a secret. He lets the Majors Garage crew chiefs do the setup work so he can focus on the racing. At majorsgarage.com, Steve can get setups for over 60 cars on the iRacing service. So no matter what series he wants to jump into, he is covered. Somebody, anybody, really should tell Adam. See you at the garage.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
You're watching SimSpeed TV, the Majors Series, Round 4 from Bathurst in the TCR cars. My goodness, what a night it has been, and we are rapidly reaching the conclusion of this heat racing format. Once again, supporting Men's Health Trust New Zealand for this round. Big thanks to the team at the Majors for lending their support to a fantastic men's mental health charity in New Zealand. Go to menshealth.org.nz to lend your support as the drivers did, buying extra qualifying laps, all proceeds going to the supported charity every single race. I'm Reese Gardner, Dan Yeaman and Lynn Kinchelow with me in the comms box, Jay Kennedy behind the scenes, and well, we've got one more 11-lap race here, split 5, with Grid Vision simultaneously broadcasting split 6. Track temperature has gone down ever further here at the conclusion of the night's racing, Dan, and now we wait and see which of the drivers is going to be able to take the crown in this 4th round.
We are indeed, and have a look here quickly at the results from Heat 4, which was just run simultaneously with us doing Heat 3 here. So this is the one held by Grid Vision just a moment ago, and Top Abramatis able to recover after falling out of the Heat 1 to Heat 3 transfer window to get himself back to the odd-numbered heats to finish up his night. He'll be joined by Adam Johnson, Tyler Bentley, Wayne Taylor, and Phil Otto, who all kept to top 5 positions in that heat. Unfortunately for Sebastian Jackson and the drivers there on backwards, they will have to stay in heat number 6 to round out their evening and be done there as well. The Grid Vision team getting ready for their final heat of the night as well, whilst we get ready for this Heat 5 tonight. But we look quickly here, Lynn, now to the rest of the schedule for 2024. We can see we're just coming up to the halfway mark at this stage, with the Speedway 500 going to be next on the cards come May.
And that's going to be a real exciting one. The return of the Dallara IR18. The IndyCar license is back where it belongs, and we're going to have a grand old time, 500 miles, 200 laps, and starting another stint of 3 oval races in a row. So it's going to be exciting for oval drivers like myself, who've been just trying to survive these road courses the past few rounds. But at the same time, this is going to be a crazy bit of driving right here. We go from a super speedway to a dirt short track to the 3/4 mile paved oval of Richmond, just outside of Virginia, and then we finish it off with a couple of other rounds. Brands Hatch back into a road course, then the wild card round where Atlantic will take on Poconos Speedway, while the Pacific region here will take on Auto Club, finishing it up with the Circuit Zandvoort in the Formula Majors car TBD at that particular race. And Reese, what do you think of the remainder of the schedule right here?
I mean, it's fantastic. The Majors Series always turns it up for interesting car and track choices, and I'm particularly looking forward to Richmond in the Gen 4 NASCAR machines. I love the story behind the current version of Gen 4, because obviously they did have Gen 4 NASCAR machines at full power in the early days of the sim, but the car was demoted to the ARCA series in the real world, and iRacing did the same. They cut the power, and then 1 week 13, someone accidentally forgot to flip the switch and gave the car full power again. And everyone liked it so much that iRacing decided to bring it back in an official capacity. Fantastic story right there. And we will get to see them racing at Richmond. That is the round that I'm looking forward to the most, but I'm definitely hyped for the Speedway 500 on the 19th of May. Certainly went off like a firecracker last year. We're back in the Indy cars this year, and it's promising to be, once again, one of the highlights of the major season. All of these dates here, you mark them in your calendar. You do not want to miss every moment of the Majors Series 2024 being covered live here on SimSpeed TV. So, a few minutes left in warm-up for the final heat of the night here. We're covering Heat 5 while Grid Vision is covering Heat 6 over on their channel. Check them out if you want the full picture. Of course, this being top split, this is the race that is going to decide the winner of round 4, Dan. All of the races beforehand have just been preparatory. They've been setting the grid for this final fling around the mountain. Yeah,
and it's interesting to see here how drivers now tackle this third race when this is the one that matters for points and the round result, and whether someone's been keeping anything in their back pockets up until now as we bring our fastest drivers of the day together for this race. That will be the one thing to watch, I think. But watching here, some time start rolling in. This is the warm-up session with another 2 minutes and change to go. The drivers won't even get to complete the laps. Most of them are just finishing up now, so at this stage, this will just be a bit of early pot shotting, it seems, and seeing vaguely where things are at. But I'm curious to see if anyone can disrupt the cars that have been competitive up the front so far today. Of course, our drivers coming from Heat 4. If I understand it right, Lynn, they'll be starting back 26th through 30th, so they're going to have a hard time of it, including Tom Armaya. So after making his way back in, he'll be a long way down the order, if I understand it right. Otherwise, he might have a bit more opportunity if I've got that wrong.
Yep, he's going to start around the bend. The grid kind of goes all the way around back towards the final straightaway. But, as you said, he's in this show. He has an opportunity to regain some of these lost positions. Just a reminder of the scoring system here in the majors. Top split pays the most points, 1st through 30th, and then 31st from on back will be paid out to the results of heat number 6 being broadcast on Grid Vision. If someone happens to drop out, the thing that I am not sure of, there is a top 50 rule in points. You have to finish at least 50% of a race to be eligible for full points. Not sure where that eligibility actually lies in this such short format, if you have to complete either 50% of all of the laps in the session or just of one. That's the only question I have left in my brain.
Yeah, I don't have much of anything left in my brain after the morning I've had. It's certainly been a very chaotic round of the Majors series, and we will see how the points stack up properly when we come back for the Speedway 500. Regardless, at the moment, Thomas Hinz is in the box seat to be taking maximum points out of this round, winning Heat 2 and Heat 3, and currently will have guaranteed himself pole position for the race start here. And we'll be going through the grid very quickly in just a few moments' time as the session warm-up has ended. Wade Sheedy setting the fastest lap in that warm-up session. But here's how they're going to line up. Thomas Hinz and Ross Banfield on the front row of the grid. Staropoli and Dowd, 3rd and 4th. Look out for them. Dowd has been one of the most consistent drivers of the night. Milwain and Sheedy will round out the top 6. Then we have Bennett and Challoner starting 7th and 8th. Medina and Bataska rounding out the top 10. Peterson and Vavrovsky 11th and 12th. Stevens, Bowman, Hill, Banks, Barber, Abate, Verweyen, Stephen Verweyen. Keep an eye out for him. He finished 2nd in Heat 2, promoted himself to the top top split. Unfortunately, was not able to get it done with an unfortunate jump start. Keep an eye out for the likes of Fox and Lottridge. They were fighting hard. Bradbury just scraping in 25th position, but the revs are rising. And we have to get things going here. Thomas Hinz versus Ross Banfield for the lead. It's once again a slow start from Thomas Hinz. And have a look at the run that Ross Banfield has gotten. Look at the run for Eric Starapoli and Nathan Dowd. Dowd almost draws level with Thomas Hinz as they make their way through turn one. And oh, yep, Starapoli a bit compromised there. Looked like a bit of contact with Thomas Hinz. Look at the run here from Wade Sheedy, but he can't take advantage. He's boxed in 2 by 2 by 2. Take it easy, boys. On the way down to Griffin's Bend, Ross Banfield is running away with this. He wants to get away from all of this mess as quickly as possible. It'll be the drivers on the inside that have the advantage. Thomas Hinz makes brief contact with Eric Starapoli on the way through turn 2. 3 wide coming out of Griffin's. No thank you.
Did we suddenly transfer over to Calder Park or something? Because that was crazy, man. It looked like Hinz just bogged down on the start, and you see everybody's just battling for position. It's all on the line now. No more Mr. Nice Drivers here.
Yeah, they're competing. Yeah, they are competing hard for the points here, and Christian Challoner wants to make up as much time as he can. Challoner trying to pass Starapoli for 6th, but he gets compromised on the outside. That allows Nathan Medina up the inside into McPhillamy. Side by side across Skyline. Again, no thank you. Christian Challoner will get ahead on the way down the hill, and they sort themselves out single file coming through the dipper. What a first part of the first lap. This is the replay here for Stephen Banks. It looks like Banks just didn't get started at all. And it gets way worse, actually blocking the track for a couple of drivers there on the right-hand side. And so that's a poor start for many a driver starting this final race of the night. Challoner still under massive pressure from Nathan Medina. It's a better run out of Forest Elbow, a better run down Conrod Straight. Dallas Pataska could take advantage if these two come together in the chase, but it's Challoner to the inside. He actually yields to Medina on the way into the corner, so the Civic's brakes not quite up to temperature yet.
Yeah, not at this stage, but the gap's already at 1 second. Well, it is 1 second now for Banfield to Hinz looking back at the front. Although we watch this here in and around the 10. Pataska trying to hang on with Brian Bennett just in behind him now as they work across the line for the first time. And Austin Peterson in behind them both as we get this first lap checked off. And then Bennett outbraking Pataska, but he's on the outside for Hell Corner. It's probably going to hurt the run initially. Then more side by side further on back here. Looking around Gavin Barber, Kevin Hill, Stephen Verwyen and Bowman, I believe, there to making those 4 cars with Bradbury and Abramitis in behind looking to chase. And then this pack of cars that headed up by Jake Fox in behind them, 21st on back.
Yeah, Tom Abramitis is one of the drivers we'll be watching hard. He certainly has had his issues tonight. He should really be competing in and around the top 10, but had a poor string of races. He managed to work his way back into the field in top split. And he's all the way down in 20th spot. How far can he advance up by the time they get to the end? Hard to pass here across the top of the mountain. Christian Challoner still trying to keep up with Nathan Medina here, who's managed to really consolidate that position. Starapoli holding on to 6th, and we'll have to wait and see if he manages a bit of extra pace and is able to make some passes and get back onto the podium, but it's going to be harder than ever. Look at the way they come down across the top of the hill, and I mean, watching TCRs around Mount Panorama is just a heart attack that lasts for 2 minutes at a time with how loose the rears on these cars are.
And what we've seen so far, it's like a dogfight in fighter jets. These guys have been slicing and dicing. I've seen some bump drafting in the middle of the field like it's a speedway race, and they've been using up more and more of the track. I've seen cars taking to the grass to get a little bit of an advantage. But at this particular point, Challoner about 220 Ks down Conrad Straight into the chase chicane. But he's not going to be able to get close enough to make an attempt on Nathan Medina right there for the position. But as you can see, the grass is already chewed up on the inside of that corner right there. Everybody's using every inch of the track.
That they are. Oh, lordy. Abramitis and Bowman now. Bowman falling back by some margin. Actually, seems Robbie Bradbury's been able to make his way past. It seems that Bowman had an issue across the top. And so now, under massive pressure from Abramitis, into the grass for Gary Ho. And he's got a bit of a problem here with Adam Johnson. They make contact side by side down the straight, but they both hold on to it. And Adam will keep the place. Coming out of the first turn here, but how long will that last? Car coming out of the pits, it's Stephen Banks, who we are now learning had his clutch stuck on off the start. That's the reason why he didn't get moving. Meanwhile, up the front, Thomas Hinz already on the back of Ross Banfield again. So, Danny might not have nailed the start, second time in a row that we've seen, but once he's up to pace, God, he's scary.
Actually quite crazy how quick Hinzy's been going here. Banfield looked like he was pretty in control in heat one. We didn't have Hinzy, and then, yeah, come heat two, Hinzy gets the pace down, and once again, is straight on it here on lap 3. So how much is Ross going to defend this if he knows that Hinz can suddenly cut that time? Yeah, on the last lap, a 2:20.6 for your race leader, but then a 2:19.8 for Hinz. That's a huge amount of time difference on just the second flying lap of the race. So maybe something about the way the Elantra is the way he's got his car sort of can get that car switched on faster than Banfield, because yeah, therefore it seems you don't need to have a good start to make much of a difference. As a result, he's now well underneath the slipstream range here. Let's see if a move comes down at Condon Straight this time, Blake.
Good position to be in. Up across the top. You see the momentum already starting to build, coming up to 230 k's an hour coming into the chase. He's going to hit 240. Will he hit 250? So much speed for Thomas Hinz. Can he carry that into a move in the braking zone? No. Has to back out of it. Allow Banfield to keep the lead for just a few corners longer.
He wanted to for a second there. Oh, there you go. Sorry for that, Lynn. We both waited, and then we both went at the same time. That's always a good sign. But yeah, he waited all right, but then just, deciding it maybe to play a slightly longer game. He can afford to at this stage. We're only at the end of lap 3 as Christian Challoner decides the racetrack is not enough. He needs the grass, too, to re-challenge Nathan Medina for this P7 spot. Lynn, side by side, Challoner going to be on the outside for Hell Corner. This probably won't favour him, with a little bit of camber on the inside, and here comes Dallas Patasco as a result.
And this is going to be a very interesting point right here. Tasca decides to go with Challenger for the time being. And again, you see bump drafting. They're pushing like it's speedway action. And of course, this is over 230 k's an hour on the internet. Milliseconds separating everybody's movements. But up in front, no!
Ooh, holds on to it, does Nathan Medina. Just kept the power in. And you do that in a front-wheel drive touring car, it will straighten out, but that has cost him quite a few positions. He's now down to 12th place. Let's see. This is the move for Thomas Hinz. Managed to get past Ross Banfield again. That's the second time tonight we've seen him do that. Take the lead at turn 2. Nicely done. But the cars behind, this was certainly very stressful for Nathan Medina. He tried to get to the inside, but unfortunately Dallas Patasca was there and he got bumped wide for his troubles. So now has to do all of that hard work all over again.
Far back in this pack, but still in it. That's the important thing for now. Just gonna refocus, eyes forward, not worry about the fact that it's Christian Abate and Dan Stevens behind him. Actually go after one of his own teammates in Trevor Lewowski there, number 10 of all Sim Sports entry, who's next up on the cards, and number 10 locking down P10 at this stage. We also see here then that guys at the back of the field like Robbie Bradbury, Tom Abramitis, they're making some good moves through the field. Abate, Johnson, and Tyler Bentley are our best positions gained so far in this race.
Yep, they were able to avoid the chaos of the initial start with the clutch issue being presented. And they're able to salvage something of this event as we currently look at this battle with two Evolve cars kind of getting close to each other. It's one thing if somebody else is bumping you. I get a little concerned whenever it's teammates on teammates action. But they hang on to it for the time being. Zeke Verwijn able to make a spectacular recovery. Started 19th, only up to 17th on paper, but plenty of opportunities left to go as the Kevin Hill car goes to overtake, I believe that is Gavin Barber.
Yeah, but Gav gets a better exit round the outside of turn 1 and will keep the position inside for turn 2 as well. So who does Stephen Verweyen decide to follow? He won't have the opportunity now. He did have a slight bit of slipstream, but will have to hang back at least across the top of the mountain and out of Forest Elbow. He'll have his next chance, I imagine. Barber still struggling for corner exits coming out of turn 2, but there's nothing that Kevin Hill can do to make his way past, running so close to the concrete barriers here through the cutting. Absolutely love the action this circuit provides. You know, the walls are close at all times. There is zero margin for error across the top. I mean, you might not see much in the way of overtaking across the top here, but it's certainly, Dan, a fantastic display of a driver's ability.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah. Oh,
my God.
Kevin Hill. And he's found the fence too at McPhillamy. It's completely broken the right-hand side of the car, and we really couldn't have picked that sentence at a worse time, it seems, because you're getting your way across the top here at speed requires being able to be on the limit and just having the car threaten to brake loose. Let's have a look at it again on the replay here and see. Oh, he's just grabbed the apex curb and then, runs wide. That exit curb can be useful if you ride it just right, like a berm, but you go over the top of it and you are in the fence almost always. And the car that wants to understeer by default on the power as well, that was almost certainly a guarantee. We'll go on board with Kevin Hill for one more replay of it here, Lynn.
And you see, he nicks the start of the curb right there. That is not the place you want to be. You kind of want to hit it after it's already begun, so you ramp up gently. Otherwise, you upset the balance of the car. Combine that with scraping the inside wall on the way through, leads to going across the track, hitting another wall, and the wall usually tends to win that encounter.
That's the same thing that Eric Staropoli did in the first heat of the night, but this time it did not end Kevin Hill's way. He was not able to keep it out of the wall. Well, Christian Abate now started in 18th place, certainly a quick driver and could have another position on the cards here. Trevor Vavrovsky and Nathan Medina, the two Evolve cars, trading places ahead of him. Looks like they're working together here to try and keep Abate behind. Will they be successful though? The Civic is certainly strong across the top of the mountain. Meanwhile, it is still on for 4th place. Even for 3rd too. Wade Sheedy managing to get into the podium positions for this round. Aussie Milwane will have a lot to say about it though. He almost had something to say about it down here at the cutting. Fantastic bit of racing here and a beautiful run from the Civic of Nathan Dowd, who once again has flown under the radar for the majority of the night. Now he's really starting to show his cards down.
He is actually interesting that he decided to back out of it and let Milwane have that position back in the moment and allow him to be the one to take a crack at Wade Sheedy once again. Sheedy also doing a good job up 3 spots to get to P3 after starting in 6th. So watch out here for that 03 car to make a decent effort of it, but I also want to draw our attention to what's happening right at the front of the field. Unlike in the last race where Thomas Hins kind of pulled the margin and looked pretty comfortable, Ross Banfield's keeping him a little more honest, it seems, just keeping that gap at around half a second to 7/10. As we watch here for Milwane under brakes at the chase, he'll get right to the bumper, he'll get into the bumper of Wade Sheedy, but all 3 cars there in that pack will get out the other side just fine. Then it's Staropoli looking to join up, but not quite there yet. And it's Challoner and Pataska there scrapping as we keep scrolling back through the field here. There's Gav Barber and Simba as they try to finish strong here tonight. As I said that Banfield was keeping Hins honest. It does kind of keep him honest, but Hins also puts the fastest lap of the race in, although it's going to be eclipsed by Dallas Pataska there back in P number 8.
Wow, great use of the slipstream there from Dallas Pataska, who, he's been involved quite closely in a few battles, hasn't he? But he's thus far escaped any dents in his car. Touch wood, if you're a Dallas Pataska fan. Hopefully Avid just commentators cursed him. But we'll see what happens here ahead as right on the back is Nathan Dowd of Aussie Mill Wayne. How do we go on the exit here? Is there any chance for the Civic to fling one up the inside at the cutting? No, there isn't. You can brake so late into that corner, but there's nothing you can do from that far back. Robbie Bradbury, meanwhile, seems to have suffered a problem. He was trying to go defensive, but I don't know, Lynn. It feels like the move was already made there.
That seemed very reactionary in nature, and if you try to turn into the corner when there's something physically blocking you, it's going to end in not a very good way. Unfortunately, for Bradbury, he spins out, loses a lot of positions. On the good side, he doesn't seem to have sustained any damage, so he'll be able to keep going. Unlike, unfortunately, Kevin Hill, we have seen that car pulled behind the garage, and the door has lowered for that machine. Looking at Tom Abramitis right here, still trying to claw a way back up the hill. Currently sitting 4th in the championship standings. He will be able to defend that position, I believe, from Kevin Hill, who is 5th. And you say Nathan Dowd's been under the radar? I had to take a look at the point standings. I didn't realize he was in 3rd, only 100 points back from Challenger, so he's having a very good run in comparison to Challenger tonight.
Yeah, absolutely is. It seems like he's certainly got more of a handle on the front-wheel drive touring cars than Challenger has had tonight. But remember, Challener's only a couple of cars behind Dowd as we speak. This is such an intense battle here, just outside the top 2. Banfield and Hins breaking away. Same story that's been told a couple of times tonight, but this is some of the closest fighting I've seen in the middle of the top 10 yet, Dan. Sheedy has got all sorts of pressure on him right now. He'll be continuing to look in his mirrors, look down at his F3 black box and think, wow, really that many cars that close behind me?
Got this train of 6 here as go on board Dallas Pataska as he looks to try and close up on the cars ahead. Has just improved the fastest lap of the race into the 219.6 bracket as we speak as well. So he's getting all the benefits of the slipstream. He just needs to find a little something more to get past these cars ahead. And saying that, Christian Challoner's last up to 219.692. And we said they're flashing on the screen 663 for comparison. So to beat Challoner, he's going to have to find something a little more as we now watch for the climb up the hill as Aussie Mill Wayne looking a little vulnerable to Dowd and co behind. After coming off of Hell Corner, it looked like Dowd was going to possibly be vulnerable to his own teammate in Staropoli, but that's now changed as the cars come across the top at speed. And we watch there for different entries into McPhillamy Park. In the end, though, it all works out with everyone getting across at speed. And then down the S they come. How much curb you wish to take, how close do you get to the wall there at the bottom, and then how well do you get it into the dip at the dipper and let the car flow out on the power for the run to Forest Elbow.
It's all about flow onto the brakes as well. We've seen that catch out a few drivers here tonight, Len. That rise on the way into Forest Elbow, making the rear end unstable. But it seems like all of these drivers have that sorted. If anything, Wade Sheedy seems to have it sorted the most because he's just gotten some crucial gaps over all of these cars running behind him. I mean, we've still got a few laps left to go, 3 laps to go at the line. Now is about the time that we're going to see drivers start to make moves, but you don't want to do it too early.
You say you don't want to do it too early, but at the same time, if I'm like Dowd or Staropoli and I'm just racing, for championship position, Dowd might be willing to concede the position to Staropoli for the time being. But at the same time, these guys are all nose to tail. If somebody makes a boo-boo over the hill, it could potentially be a big one.
Yeah, certainly could. That's another factor of risk here at Mount Panorama. Someone makes a slight error up the top and everyone else gets involved, whether or not they want to. Here comes Aussie Milwayne on Wade Sheedy, all of them moving out here, and Sheedy just a little bit earlier on the brakes. That accordions them all up. Milwayne, Dowd and Staropoli all together now, and Christian Challoner takes advantage. He draws alongside Staropoli, but again can't make the move. That's where the track narrows up ridiculously on the way into the cutting, and it's at such high speed too, Dan. There's nothing that Challoner could do. He just has to wait.
Yeah, keep waiting, keep hoping for a better opportunity to come your way. But as you said, laps tick down, time runs out, options are eliminated one by one as we see the laps go by. You wonder when he makes a move that maybe is a bit riskier than normal because of a situation. But as you said, whether Christian's thinking championship long term and therefore wants to make sure he prioritises a good result, we'll have to see. But this one here, Staropoli has now dropped back a little bit from his own teammate. We'll see if he can make this. There you go, Challoner trying to really maximise the situation, but can't really go anywhere under the brakes. He's already that close. And then trying to get the drive out of the elbow for the run here down Conrod Straight. They all fan out a little bit. Although Pataska is right behind Challoner. We might see the two Civics here at the back of this pack exchange positions. As there's a look out the rear of Challoner's car. Does Pataska look for something? No, he'll stay in the draft train as they come across to the left of the circuit. Open up the entry of the chase. And on the brakes there, it looks like Pataska may be lifting the tiniest margin, perhaps to settle the car in, because he loses a bit of ground, as then Staropoli overdriving the exit the tiniest amount will lose a tiny bit of ground there as well. We're coming to 2 to go here at the line, Lynn, and this pack is just starting to warm up, it seems, as they get ready for one final crack at things.
Pataska's being aggroed like a dingo. He's been nipping at the heels of Challoner all night long for this particular event, and at a certain point he's going to have to send it, and we've seen him send it before, and it's worked out for him ultimately. But how does that work against a world champion driver like Christian Challoner, multi-time major series champion, to his credit, many times? Staropoli runs a little defensive ahead of them, and they're able to keep it for the time being. Meanwhile, we look back further afield as the two Evolve cars also trying to work their way up the field.
So the double view here. A couple of trains making their way up and down the mountain here. This is the fight on the bottom. Nathan Medina and Trevor Vavrovsky trying to chase down Austin Peterson for the last position in the top 10. Got Brian Bennett up ahead of them as the train for third makes their way down the hill. Try your best to keep the car stable over the curbs. Keep the speed up coming into the dipper, but don't take too much out of the front tyres. You'll just understeer into the wall. Challoner continuing to go all over the back of Eric Staropoli, and it's a slightly wider entry for Challoner, but he can't take advantage of the extra momentum. Staropoli was just parking it on the apex, and it seems like he's done that almost every lap here. There's just nothing that Challoner can do. Every single time he gets to the point where he might be able to get an advantage, he isn't able to.
But a veteran driver like Challoner is taking notes. Even though we're coming up to the final lap, he's got to remember that for the next time, he might leave himself a little bit of a gap just to be able to get that run. Still taking every ounce of track and then some. Coming up, a couple of laps to go. Still anyone's game. Barty's waving the white flag one more time around the hill.
And Thomas Hinz gets into the 2:19.5s on the lap timer. Ross Banfield's still there, 7/10 behind. One mistake from Hinz and Banfield could come away with the round win here, as there's a bit of contact behind. Austin Peterson gets clobbered in the back by Nathan Medina, but they both keep it nice and straight. They keep it going for the time being. Battle for third place up on the top of your screen. Wade Sheedy in the blue and white machine, currently holding on to it. He's got Aussie Milwayne to contend with, and then the teammates of Nathan Dowd and Eric Staropoli trying to figure out who's going to be the best of their team. Is it the Elantra, or is it the Honda Civic? gently does it up through the cutting. Once again, no passing allowed across the top. Of course, figuratively, you can try it, but it'll usually end in tears. Which of these drivers, Dan, is currently best placed in the battle for third, I wonder?
Feels like it should be Wayne Sheedy, but Aussie Millwayne is right there if anything goes a little wrong, or if just a slightly better exit at the elbow means that the slipstream could pay off for Millwayne. In saying that, she's been able to hold this lead of his pack for quite some time as Medina finds the dirt at McPhilmy. Will have to exchange a spot with his teammate and Trevor Pavlovsky there at the top of the hill, but that's all that will happen in that pack as the elbow for the final times. Oh, Challoner's got into the back of Staropoli, it seems, at the elbow. The 24 is going to have to limp it home from there to finish the race.
Oh no, that's massive. Poor Eric Staropoli. I mean, Challoner was always aggressive coming into the elbow, and this time, unfortunately, he wasn't able to move alongside in time. So what that means is Challoner might face a penalty from the stewards. He could face a pass from Dallas Pataska as well, but there's nothing doing in the braking zone between any of these drivers. Meanwhile, up the front of the field, Thomas Hinz is going to negotiate the final corner and take the checkered flag. Thomas Hinz is your winner of MTCR in the Pacific region here at Mount Panorama. A brilliant drive. Challoner gets spun out of the final corner. Dallas Pataska will cross the line ahead of him. Don't reverse, Christian. Oh my God. That's just making things worse.
Oh, it's collected the evolved car of Vavrovsky. Means Medina gets back in. Actually, no. Results stand as Vavrovsky inching ahead across the line in front of Medina by fractions of a second. So Challoner back to 15th.
Wow.
And so, yeah, it goes to the looks for the inside as he's just explaining it on the radio as well. Looks for the inside, but tags the left rear of Eric Staropoli. And then later on, down at Murray's, has he gone in too hot by himself? So he's in hot. He's definitely in deep. It looks Reese is Pataska better run. Well, Challoner looks like he's moving to the inside and backing off on corner exit there, which doesn't help things if that was true.
Yeah, and he I don't know what the deal was there, but Challoner might have been trying to redress the position to Staropoli by slowing down out of the final corner, but unfortunately his decision to get it in reverse and go across the line just put him in the path of the Evolve Elantra. Staropoli here is still a long way behind. Sorry, that's Joshua Wolf. Sorry, I'm getting my Sector 5 cars confused, but Wolf, it looks like, is going to be the last car to come across the line here. Stephen Banks and Kevin Hill will ultimately retire from the race. So still a good finishing record for this race, but a very exciting conclusion to round 4 of the Majors Series for 2024 here on SimSpeed TV. Let's go through our results then. Thomas Hinz, 0.7 of a second ahead of Ross Banfield. Wade Sheedy gets on the podium as well. Congratulations to all 3 of our podium sitters. Aussie Millwayne in 4th place. Nathan Dowd finishes in 5th for the round. And tell you what, he's going to get a big haul of championship points from that. Dallas Pataska finishes in 6th place. Eric Staropoli ultimately in 7th, with Bennett, Peterson and Vavrovsky rounding out the top 10, Len. Wow, what a race.
It was awesome, and then it just went absolutely wacky. Nathan Medina finishing 11th position, Christian Abate 12th, Daniel Stevens, quiet night, but not necessarily a bad thing, in 13th position. Stephen Verwine, amazing recovery after the jump start that he had in heat number 3, and then 15th place. Christian Challoner lost a ton of positions on that particular point. And I think you were right. That was an attempted redress because the car Staropoli was right there. But keep continuing on. 16th, Gavin Barber. Tom Baber-Midas, again, another solid recovery going from the back of the field to the mid. Zachary Brown, Jake Fox, and Gary Ho round out the top 20.
Pardon me for that one there. That sounds like my cue to come in with the final 10 cars, and Tyler Bentley next across the line in 21st, closely followed behind by Wayne Taylor in 22nd. Kevin Santana brings it home. The next to the cars in 23rd. Rory Bradbury, unfortunately, the contact and spin for him, which was what was the 64 of Bowman, ends up still back in 24th with Jason Lottridge and Adam Johnson, Phil Otto and Joshua Wolf to round out our cars, finishing on the lead lap. Stephen Banks, unfortunately, a lap short of the finish, and Kevin Hill retiring. I've got 7 laps here done. That says 6. Either or, it's still a retirement. All the same for the 52 there to round out the final race of MTCR Australia here for today's action in the Pacific region.
Indeed. Now let's have a chance to chat to our podium. We'll start, of course, with the round winner, Thomas Hins, who joins us now. Hinsey, wow, it certainly wasn't the start to the night you would have wanted, starting in the lower split, but you managed to get it together and win your next 2 heats on at the trot. You must be very happy with your performance. The car looked supremely quick.
Yeah, I think it was 3 for 3 now, so 1 or 3, so that's nice. I don't think I've ever done that, so nice. I'll take that. Yeah, no, car felt really cool. I usually used to always go to the Civic, of course, the one I've usually always driven in sports and stuff. But I was like, I can't be bothered dragging that through the coals again, so I thought I'm just going to join the gang and join the Elantra because it seems to be OP1 for understand. So I was like, just do that. And yeah, no, it worked well. Car was really good. Yeah, really good fun. I mean, if I could just figure out how to start the thing to make it a bit easier, I'm going to say I meant to make the challenge. I didn't at all. That wasn't planned. But yeah, it was cool. Really good fights. Awesome battles throughout. And yeah, credit to Rossi. He was on me the whole time in those last 2, kept me honest, so I couldn't make a mistake. And yeah, it was really good fun.
Yeah, certainly. Mount Panorama suiting you very nicely in that Elantra. Well, you're definitely known for your exploits in the IndyCar. Next round, of course, we go to the Speedway 500 in May. That's a round that you've had some success at in the past, and I'm assuming you'll be hoping for the same this year.
Yeah, I'll have to actually look at the details there. But yeah, hopefully I'll tag along. That'd be good fun. Yeah, I think I've run it for a couple of years or so now, actually. So it's been a bit. But yeah, when I have run it, I've done pretty well. So hopefully I can do it again. Henry's Matt had the time. He's obviously very busy. Henry King, the team owner, very, very busy man. I think he got the inspiration and the time to delivery for the car. So finally got an actual livery. It looks very nice. So keen to rep that in Fixed Indy on Tuesday. So yeah, hopefully I can make it and just run it like I used to, which is basically just be surviving for 150 laps and then push at the end. So hopefully it'll happen again. We'll see. You never know being Indy, so.
Absolutely. Well, big thanks for joining us, Hinsey, and congratulations on your victory here in round 4 of majors. Is there anyone you'd like to thank for your success today?
Yeah, obviously the HCR guys, awesome crew and awesome support as always. I'll say thanks to the SRC. I think it was iLiveries that did the paint for that SRC Elantra, which we never ran. I don't think anyone ever ran that car. So I'm pretty sure it's the first time it ever really ran. So cool to finally run that one. So big kudos to iLiveries, I think, who did that one. He's obviously, we know how talented he is and shows there once again. Big thanks to the majors for always putting on a great show and make really different formats and just very, something different every round. So definitely keeps you on your toes, test your versatility, obviously. And big thanks to you guys for putting on a great show. Thank you very much.
Thomas Hins, round winner here in the 4th round of racing for the season. Second on the road, Dan, was Ross Banfield in the Civic. A very successful night. You stood by with him.
I am indeed, and Ross able to start strong in Heat 1 and then able to fend off Eric Staropoli in that opening race. And then it was Thomas Hins coming up from Heat 2 to challenge you in Heat 3 and 5 here today. Unfortunately, going to have to settle for 2nd place at the end of it all, but still hopefully happy with that result there tonight.
Yeah, I was happy. This is more of a points race for me. I had to, like I was telling them, my internet went out all the way until about Wednesday, and so then I hopped in, tried to figure out the BOP, tried to figure out sets, and then queue. So I didn't have much time, and the Honda just felt best with me. But I was talking to Hins, and he was at -4 wing. I was at -4 wing, but you kind of saw he just ran away on the straight. So I don't know if I had something wrong with the set, but nothing against him. But yeah, no, he did great. We did great. I don't know. I think I could have done better if I had the Elantra, but I can't complain with P2.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, the balanced performance and the way the TCR cars make their pace certainly is one to know. Unfortunately, you said that. It sounded like you had a bit of a rough time getting ready for this one. Yeah, but looks like you certainly did all right over the top of the mountain to be able to keep Hinsey honest there in Heat 3 and Heat 5 too. Any points of the race there where sort of like you felt like there was a chance you might have been able to catch back up to him despite the straight line advantage for the Elantra?
Honestly, not really. Like, I was just to tell you like how hopeless it was, my thing was like, don't lose the draft. That was it. I was hoping he would make a mistake and I could capitalize on it, like Wade did on that one race. Because, you know, the only reason I passed Wade was because he smacked that wall and then went onto the gravel trap. So I was just trying to stick with him, hope I could pressure him into a mistake. But, you know, he was pretty solid with his pace, so there's no chance of that happening. But yeah, like I said, it was kind of sketchy at some points, like seeing them catch. There's just nothing you could do. And then once they pass you, like being in the draft and just static, oh, it's so heartbreaking.
Unfortunate to hear that there, but well, getting points on the board for the year, valuable for you, and we get ready to go speedway racing with the return of, well, at least the traditional return of the Speedway 500 next month in May, as we bring the Dallara IndyCar back to the Major Series. How are you looking forward to that one when we get going at speeds of nearly 230 miles an hour down the turns 1 and turn 3?
To be honest, any car but the Indy car, I do good. But the Indy car in that Indianapolis is basically the bane of my existence. So I'm just trying not to wreck out. I'm gonna shoot for like maybe a top 5 if I'm lucky. Yeah, I mean, it's a struggle bus for me there.
Well, fingers crossed then maybe it's a little better than perhaps you were expecting based on things in the past. But here today, who do you want to thank for getting it done here for UDOX, the 777?
Yeah, just the team. It was great talking to him, kind of sharing some notes, comparing like sets that we could find. And then you guys for putting on a great broadcast. It's always fun to watch at the end of the night after hard racing.
Well, there we are, Ross Banfield, second place in Heat 5 to round out his evening there today. Means we'll now bring it over to our third and final driver in the booth. Wade Sheedy going to stand by with you here, Lynn, for third place.
Yeah.
Hey, Sheedy.
There you go.
I'm sorry. I'm dialing in from a far ways away. Glad to see you join the majors for this round. How'd you feel out there this evening?
Yeah, good. First time for the majors, so yeah, thanks to Seb and that for getting me involved in it. And didn't really think I was going to be this far up the pack anyway after me pre-qualifying. I wasn't really happy with it.
But you were able to work your way through. Any particular moment for you that stood out during any of the races?
Starts were pretty good. I found, sort of learn a new trick for them, and yeah, got away well on them, and just taking the opportunities where I could to actually do some passing, because it's pretty hard to pass for these cars around this track, I found.
Yeah, it did seem like everybody in general was fighting tooth and nail at multiple stages of the evening. Any particular battle you really enjoyed?
Probably that last race. Probably going in for that P3 spot. There's a couple of cars in front, and you could see a couple of mistakes sort of happening, and yeah, just taking that opportunity was really good. Even in that second race, Alan for P5 right at the end there, and didn't quite get it. I think it might have been Aussie. It was a pretty good battle there as well.
Yep, it looked good from up here. Before we let you go, is there anybody you want to shout out? Sponsors, teammates?
Big thanks to the boys at Platinum, Seb for getting me involved, Gary for jumping in as well, and Gaming Hub, Bones and Stuff, Daffy's Coffee, and yeah, you guys for the broadcast, and also yeah, guys for putting on all the show. There's a lot of work behind the scenes there to do, so yeah, well done.
Well, we're certainly glad to have you here, Wade Sheedy, finishing third in the 0-3 right there. Turn it back over to you, Reese.
Indeed, that brings proceedings to an end for tonight. Remember that next round of the Majors Series is on the 19th of May if you're in Australia. evening of May 18th. If you're in the United States, you can do the time conversions from there. If you're interested in racing, sign-ups, of course, are still open. You'll have to pre-qualify for the event, and don't forget, if you want to watch it, you can get it right here on SimSpeed TV. Can't wait. IndyCar is back on iRacing, and we're going to be racing in Indianapolis for 500 miles. Who's going to come away with victory? We'll have to wait and see. I'm Reese Gardner. Dan Yeaman and Lynn Kinchelow were with me in the comms box tonight. Jay Kennedy with us behind the scenes, pressing all the buttons, bringing you these live pictures on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Kick. From all of us here at SimSpeed TV, we say thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Hey, you know that guy who just before the green flag keys up his mic and asks, "Anybody got a setup?" Well, this is him. This is Adam, and hey, Adam needs some help. On the other hand, this guy over here, this is Steve. Steve is a solid racer and he knows his way around the garage. Steve's problem is time. With a job and a family, he can't find enough time to build competitive setups and to race as often as he likes. But as luck would have it, Steve knows a secret. He lets the Majors Garage crew chiefs do the setup work so he can focus on the racing. At majorsgarage.com, Steve can get setups for over 60 cars on the iRacing service. So no matter what series he wants to jump into, he is covered. Somebody, anybody, really should tell Adam. See you at the garage.